Services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Clouds, occasional sun today, the high at 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow, breezy, high 68. Partly sunny, breezy, much cooler day on Thursday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've got this major alert. There's a crisis in Chicago media.
Uh-oh, what do we have going on?
Freedom of the press is under threat because of Trump's executive order directing federal agencies and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to halt the funding to NPR and PBS to the maximum extent allowed by law. The NPR Times: if federal funding ends, your support is critical. It's your right to stay informed. We're seeking 2,500 new donors by May 15th to keep our organization sustainable amid threats to our independence. Nothing says independence like being a government dependent.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. Or are they going to have us sit in vigil, or what are they going to do? Light Lady of our Guadalupe candles, or what do we have?
NPR, formerly AFL-CIO Times, would have gone away a long time ago if it hadn't become a vanity project for business leaders like Jim Tyree from Mesereau back in the day, and then been picked up to be house organs for big labor, like when the AFL-CIO bought the now NPR Times, and now it's officially a house organ of government. It always was a house organ of big government, but formally now they've formalized the relationship because of the tax dollars they get to sustain this propaganda outlet. The NPR Times' missive to readers: the Trump executive order threatens $2 million in annual support that helps power Chicago public media's local journalism and public service operations. So it's always public service, it's public this, it's independence.
We're here to serve you, yes.
$2 million?
That's it? That's what they're crying over? A year?
What do you mean that's it?
No, I'm saying that's... Well, are they going to have a fundraiser, sell tote bags, or what are they going to do about it?
Did you anticipate that the Sun-Times was getting some cut of $2 million?
That's a lot of money.
To stay afloat? And apparently it really is to stay afloat, because now they need 2,500 new donors by May 15th. You know, it's always living hand to mouth because they're so independent.
Wow.
The story is... These are understated numbers. We've talked about how much NPR and PBS get of taxpayer money to stay afloat. They always sort of underrepresent it because it flows to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, but then there's also other revenue streams that are taxpayer dollars that wind up in the coffers of places like NPR and the Chicago station WBEZ through colleges and universities, for example. We've talked about it. But they say, these media welfare queens, they say that WBEZ gets a federal allocation of about $1.5 million annually, and that accounts for less than 5% of its budget. And TTW gets an annual federal outlay of about $3.7 million, or 11% of its budget. I'm telling you, it's bigger than that. But I always enjoy this other aspect of their line of argumentation, which is to say, oh, it's basically nothing. Well, if it's nothing, then just give it up. But we need taxpayer dollars in order to maintain our independence. We need taxpayer dollars in order to produce important content. And they always go to these news deserts, these rural areas that are served by PBS and NPR. Yes, that's always what they're concerned about. The PBS outposts in Moline and Charleston, where the federal dollars represent half of their budgets. Well, hey, folks, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, figure out your business model. But there is nothing independent about forcing people to pay for your product, is there? $2 million, the kind of numbers we're talking about, and this is fun too, because in the important stories we bring you, you don't want to lose this.
What?
For example, here's some of the reporting our readers have supported. Yeah, at the point of a gun, by the way.
Yeah, when was the
some
last
of your
time
readers.
you read the Sun-Times?
In 2025, social media giant Meta backed down and restored former Sun-Times media columnist Rob Feeder's Facebook page after a column from Neil Steinberg about the page's mysterious suspension. That's the kind of hard-hitting investigative journalism that has an impact. That's the kind of speaking truth to power that you don't get if you allow the NPR Times to go the way of the dodo bird.
Who cares about Robert Feeder's Facebook page? Oh, my God, that was a story?
Well, if you don't have access to Robert Feeder's Facebook page, then you don't know where Anna Devlantes had dinner on Friday night.
Stop. Whatever happened to Michael Sneed? Psst. Remember that column? The gossip column? Sneedling, snoodling, canoodling.
Uh-huh. Big stories.
Where are you going to get your horoscopes?
Dear Abby?
Then that, too. I think they had Dear Amy. Yeah, after Dear Abby.
The hard-hitting news. Now, they miss all the big things, but they are on it when it comes to tinkering on the margins would be too big. That's more than they do. But when it comes to sort of idiosyncratic, narrowly tailored interests of the radical left in Chicagoland, you can bet the NPR Times will be there to carry the flag. In 2024, Mayor Brandon Johnson's campaign fund returned more than $50,000 in contributions from city contractors after the Sun-Times reported donations violated the city hall ethics rule. Wow. That's a blockbuster. Pathetic. The only thing more pathetic than the actual outlets is taxpayers being forced to finance them. You want to get
so sick.
You want to get these these 1960 hippie refugees from Evanston to pay $50 for a tote bag and use that to finance your operations, then go ahead, knock yourself out. But again, why am I or you or anybody else being compelled to finance any part of this? And then they call it a free press.
Oh, that's the sick part.
It's precisely the opposite.
I know. It's government-run media.
George in Naperville.
Yes, I guess if we're not going to be informed anymore, you and Amy will have to pick up the slack, Dan.
Yes, exactly. We'll do what we can, minus the federal taxpayer revenue stream. But another big story. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling told a city council hearing there would be stringent efforts to root out extremists and remove those members from the ranks of CPD. After an internal probe, the department decided not to punish any of the officers. There were apparently a couple of outspoken conservative police officers on the force, and Larry Snelling was on the job because the NPR Times demanded it. Oh, and then nothing happened. You're going to miss them when they're gone. I mean, you won't notice, but mark their word, you're going to miss them.
I mean, honestly, if you paid me $100 right now, I cannot remember the last time I actually held a Chicago Sun-Times newspaper in my hands.
It's more like a flyer, like a pamphlet. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
When age-related health issues arise, don't just treat the body, treat the soul. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has provided nonprofit, Christ-centered care for seniors. Arlington Heights, Ottawa, Bloomington, and Crown Point. 4 Lutheran Life communities to serve all your needs for assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
First sack of Durban, now Calamity Jan Schakowsky, the wife of convicted felon Creamy Bob. We lose another towering figure in the political world. Remembering Jan Schakowsky, your favorite moments from Jan Schakowsky's tenure in Congress. That's at 5:38.
Yeah, and you could call in 312-642-5600. But now let's head into the newsroom and get the headlines.
Good morning. It's 47 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Real ID deadline is tomorrow. The Trump administration says all states will need to comply by the May 7th deadline. Real ID is an enhanced security driver's license that will be needed to board any domestic airline flight in lieu of a passport. Some states are complaining of long lines at the DMV. Authorities are investigating a police-involved shooting on the far south side. The incident happened early Monday morning at the corner of 106 and LaSalle Streets. Police say an off-duty officer shot and critically wounded a man when responding to a domestic dispute. The man who was shot was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 2 weapons were recovered. The officer involved will be placed on administrative duties for at least 30 days. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. Get big summer flavor in every bite with the new DQ Summer Blizzard Treat Menu, featuring new mixing bowl mashup, fan-voted s'mores, and more for a limited time right now at DQ. Happy tastes good at participating locations. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Hey, Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha, making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Set sail August 16th through the 23rd on the Patriots Alaska Cruise with me, Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, plus special guests Jennifer Horn and Joe Piscopo. Experience breathtaking glaciers, fjords, and wildlife, all while diving into critical discussions about America's future with today's top political voices. Cabins are going fast. Text TRAVEL to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late. Travel to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Clouds and some occasional sun for today. Warmer afternoon. High today 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight. Low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Breezy. High 68. Partly sunny. Breezy. Much cooler on Thursday. High 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. In my best Sarah McLachlan, I will remember you, Calamity Jan Schakowsky, the communist from Evanston, announcing yesterday at the tender age of 80 that she will not run for re-election to Congress.
Do you want to hear her goodbye? She had this powerful women luncheon where, they were teasing, maybe she'll announce that she's not running again. Maybe she'll announce that she's seeking yet another term, and she's out.
I knew I could decide either way, but I just made the decision that the time has come to let others take their place.
Time has
Let's all take a moment. It's been a tough couple of weeks. It's a big 1-2 punch in terms of losing political heft, isn't it? First sack of Durbin's not going to go again. Now Calamity Jan. Boy, I tell you, I think my favorite moment in Jan Schakowsky's career, if I may be so presumptuous, was when she nearly avoided being indicted with her husband, Creamy Bob, for check kiting in a scandal involving a political action, quote-unquote, nonprofit. They were involved in Illinois Public Action. Creamy Bob had to go away, go on vacation for some time, which is not unusual for an Illinois politician or politician adjacent, an Illinois operative. And Jan Schakowsky came out unscathed. And thanks to the good sense of her constituents on the near North Shore, politically stronger than ever.
3-1.
It was a moment of triumph. And we just don't have enough of those wonderful moments of political triumph anymore.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us. She said, she's been in office, 9th Congressional District. Sid Yates had that, I remember. Back in the day. She's been there since 1998. She's not endorsing any candidate right now to replace her, Dan, but she is saying that she used to work with Republicans, but the world has changed because of bad orange man.
I have worked with Republicans and Democrats throughout the time, never seen anything like this. So we have to remember the values of
what was the thing you worked with Republicans on?
And while
was there a follow-up at the Women's Power Lunch? Sorry I couldn't make it this year. The follow-up on that?
I don't
what was
know why
that time you worked with the Republicans? What was the issue?
I don't know why that reporter didn't ask. Please give me an example of when you worked with Republicans on what issue, on what bill.
Yeah, the idea of assessing Jan Schakowsky, who is a shrill red. I mean, she is.
Oh, she's
truly. I mean, that word gets bandied about, but she is a true communist. She's a red. And she is, delightful, of course. I mean, you remember, it's not that long ago. I mean, because she said she's going to be an activist to the end. Her activism doesn't stop, and that's good to hear. But she was an activist to the end at the American Federation of Government Employees confab outside the Capitol just a few weeks ago.
Oh, which side are you on?
Jan Schakowsky was there.
Which side are you on? Tell me which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against George. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Trump's coming for our unions. He wants us all to fail. He wants us to bow to him, but we want him in jail. Oh, which side are you on?
Sing it.
Which side are you on?
Dye your hair blue.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? They say in the capital city there are no neutrals found. You're either with the union or a scabby Musk bloodhound.
Oh!
Which side are you on? 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 Don't take that government buyout. Don't listen to Trump's lies. Us workers haven't got a chance unless we organize. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I tell you, you want to talk about voices of their generation. This generation, coming up in the era of free love and the loss of innocence with the Vietnam War and Watergate, and you think of the critical cultural voices of this generation. You think a Pete Seeger, you think of Bob Dylan, you think of Joan Baez, you think of Jan Schakowsky.
Who's going to replace her, Dan?
Well, by the way, she's already was facing a primary challenge from some pro-Hamas TikTok influencer type. So that would be perfect. That would be perfect for Jan Schakowsky's district, for her to be replaced by some Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib knockoff. That'd be perfect. That's exactly what that district I expect will embrace, and so I hope they get what they desire. I'm always hopeful that people get what they want.
Are Republicans going to be sitting this one out? I remember Joel Pollack ran for the 9th district once, and a long
okay.
time ago.
Anyway, just other Schakowsky hits. There's so many. Well, I mean, this, again, recent vintage. Just shows, like Joe Biden, there's no cognitive decline here. She's going out on top. She is probing. She is exacting. She is shrill. She is angry. She is hysterical. She is ignorant. Right up until the end.
Yesterday, I met with a manufacturing company, but they also are engaged in getting young people more engaged in manufacturing. So I asked them, so how many of those students that are signing up and want to do this, how many are women? And they said, well, I know there's at least 13% or something. It was a low number. And you had mentioned trying to engage more women in manufacturing. I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy.
That's the problem. Nobody picked up on that. Nobody picked up on the lack of women in STEM and going into manufacturing is because it doesn't sound inviting to women. This is the third eye insight you're going to lose when Jan Schakowsky shuffles off to her Evanston commune.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Didn't you want womanfacturing, or we were trying to come up with names?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to miss that lead, little lady.
There's another possibility for replacement, actually.
Okay.
Back a couple of years ago, when she was lighting her hair on fire during one of these phony debt ceiling controversies, she introduced a woman from her district that was very fearful about the debt ceiling, and the debt ceiling not being raised, of course, continue the profligate spending. Maybe this woman is available since she was such a policy wonk a couple of years ago, focused in on the debt ceiling. Jan Schakowsky had a full-size photo of her, in point of fact, that she held up from the podium while she excoriated those heartless Republicans for even pressing the pause button on raising the debt ceiling.
Her name is Janet, and she called my office in tears. She was so afraid. She is 64 years old. Her income is $1,200 a month. She has chronic mental illness. She cannot work. She would like to work, but she cannot. And she is so afraid that if they do what they're going to do, that she cannot pay the rent. She cannot pay for any food. She can't pay for the medication that she needs. These tough guys who don't want to negotiate, this is the hostage that they want to take. And there are millions of Janets all over the world.
Fortunately, Calamity Jan was able to negotiate the hostage release, the release of Janet. Janet has mental health issues, so Schakowsky says. She's unable to work.
Yeah.
It sounds perfect for Congress.
This progressive TikToker, Palestinian, her name's Kat. Oh, boy. Abadou.
Yeah, well done.
26 years old. She's millions of viewers. I don't know, Gen Z influencer. She might capture that seat.
It couldn't be less interesting, really. Who wins that seat? Could it? Could it be any less interesting? Does anybody in the 9th District care? Does anybody in Illinois care? The political handicapping of the 9th District after 50 years of Sid Yates and 26 years of Jan Schakowsky, could that be any more of an exercise in futility? Just more from the full record of these two, because they were a team. Don't forget about Creamy Bob. He got back into the activism game after his stint in federal prison for check kiting. You may remember in 2016, he and two of his goons got caught. He was Americans United for Change They got caught by James O'Keefe's Project Veritas at the time because they were on video talking about how they were basically engaged in election fraud in the state of Wisconsin. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, old habits die hard with Creamy Bob and Calamity Jan. On a lighter, in a lighter time, or in a lighter moment, it's part of, again, the hit parade that Calamity Jan has provided us these many years. A couple of years ago, at least one person who decided to run against her, paying attention to the people of that congressional district, who frankly don't deserve much attention. Max Rice, he ran as sort of a lark against Schakowsky. He had fun with it. And you'll remember when it was time for the Daily Herald Zoom endorsement interview, Max Rice subbed in Alex Primetime Stein to punk both Calamity Jan and the Daily Herald editors.
Where has he been?
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I'm Max.
That's not Max.
Oh.
I'm his representative.
Okay. Is he on his way?
No, he was having me fill in because he got injured.
Well,
That's
we don't
not
want to talk with
acceptable.
anybody but him. No, we want to talk with him.
That's not what he said. He said you guys said we could have a representative is what he was.
No, well, I would not have said that. We don't allow representatives even to sit in on the interviews.
I think so, Jim. I think that's what he said. Because
Well, if he said that, it was wrong. So I would not have said that. You don't allow
Jan not debate me? Why won't Jan debate me?
Okay, I don't know. You're not a part of this race, so I'm going to, if he wants to join us, he has the list.
Jan,
He
you're
has the
my
link.
favorite big booty congresswoman, Jan. Has anybody ever told you that? I know you're AOC's mentor. I just Turn him off, Jim. You're my favorite big booty grandma that I've ever met. Jan, how are you doing? Are you still sleeping with those spies, Jan? Remember that? Remember you slept with all those spies? Jan, I'm trying time 99 hours. Jan, are you going to say anything? Because, you know, your cities, everybody's getting shot. Are you proud of your city, all the people that are dying? Who the hell is this? Okay. Jan, you should be ashamed of yourself.
That was awesome.
My favorite big booty congressman, Jan Schakowsky.
I never heard that term before.
That's part of her political epitaph, to be sure. All right. Play us out, Jan.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against George. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon scab within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
When age-related health issues arise, don't just treat the body, treat the soul. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has provided nonprofit, Christ-centered care for seniors. Arlington Heights, Ottawa, Bloomington, and Crown Point. 4 Lutheran Life communities to serve all your needs for assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Right now, MyPillow is having 2 sales in one. The first is a closeout sale on Percale bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $25. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $25. 11 colors to choose from. When they're gone, they're gone. The second sale is a new energy drink called Rev 7, a premium energy drink that is actually good for you. It tastes great and gives you energy all day. Plus, it has no sugar, no caffeine, so you don't experience those jitters and crashes that we've all been through with the other energy drinks. What makes Rev 7 so special is that it's powered with a premium nootropic that helps fuel your mind and provides the most efficient and cleanest fuel ever. For a limited time, get an introductory 3-pack absolutely free. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan? Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to tell you that I figured out how to pronounce her last name, the woman who is going to get the 9th congressional seat. Kat Abu Bazaleh, otherwise known as Kat Abu.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you. It took all segment long, but I figured it out.
Great help on the sample ballot for 9th Congressional District voters.
Yeah, I really think that's the reason why Jan's not running.
In more interesting political news, which of course happens outside of Illinois, Alex Villanueva is the L.A. County Sheriff. And this has been brewing for a long time, but it was 44 years in the making. Mm-hmm. He recently made an announcement of his own. Not that he's retiring, just retiring from a certain organization.
As of today, and if you have cameras, get them rolling. Share this on social media. As of today, I'm leaving the party of paid protests, purple hair, and pronouns. I'm joining the party of faith, family, and freedom.
44 years a Democrat, L.A. County Sheriff Alex Villanueva now leaving the party of paid protests, purple hair, and pronouns for the party of family, faith, and freedom. I like that that rhetorical flourish there. That's a good T-shirt at minimum.
Good for
and
you.
And welcome, yes. Alex Villanueva, and I hope you bring more of your friends, particularly in law enforcement, but not limited to law enforcement. This is the opportunity the Republicans have across the country to bring sensible people like Villanueva over into their ranks.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, the Republicans in Congress are doing some things. One of them is on student loans, the socialization of student debt that occurred under the big guy. We'll start there at 6:06.
And incentivizing illegals to self-deport. Are you for it or against it? Today, we're going to have warmer conditions finally in the mid-70s. It's now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The head of Homeland Security will head to the Capitol. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, defending President Trump's new plan to pay illegal immigrants to leave.
So we're going to have a self-deportation where they deport themselves out of our country.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is expected to face scrutiny from Democrats today when she appears before a House Appropriations Subcommittee. Expect Noem to defend the president's immigration policies. They have a new initiative paying for the commercial flights of migrants who are in the country illegally if they choose to self-deport. The administration will also pay them a $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the United States.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. While Noem testifies, President Trump will host Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, at the White House for trade talks.
So the relationship between the two nations has been strained due to tariffs and, of course, Trump's proposal to make Canada the 51st state.
Something the Prime Minister says will never happen.
After his recent election victory, Carney said he was prepared to have difficult but constructive conversations in Washington.
That's Fox's Brooke Sigmund. More than 100 flights to and from Newark, New Jersey, delayed or canceled yet again this morning, continuing a trend at that airport with air traffic control shortages when some took leave after a stressful technical issue last week affected Newark.
The primary communication line went down. The backup line didn't fire. And so for 30 seconds, we lost contact.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy also tells Fox.
We have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30, 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration.
Now, Duffy says they have new incentives to hire more air traffic controllers. 4 airports in Moscow were shut down for a while after Ukraine fired drones deep into Russia, which says it intercepted more than 100 drones. Russia also attacked Ukraine with drones ahead of a 72-hour Russian ceasefire starting Thursday to commemorate the end of World War II in Europe 80 years ago. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's not sure what Canada's Prime Minister wants to talk about when the two meet today.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is scheduled to speak with Trump at the White House.
I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does.
The high-stakes meeting comes in the midst of a trade war between the two countries. Trump has also increased tensions, suggesting that Canada should become part of the U.S. This will be Carney's first trip to Washington since he was elected last week. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Trump administration is offering $1,000 to illegals if they self-deport using a government app.
President Trump addressed the program Monday while speaking at the White House.
What we thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from.
The Department of Homeland Security said the payments will be made after their return's been confirmed through the CBP Home app. The app's webpage estimates that once approved, undocumented migrants would typically depart the U.S. within 3 weeks. Those who submit their intent to voluntarily self-deport will also be deprioritized for detention and removal ahead of their departure. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor of Dalton is officially over. Jason House was sworn in as mayor at the Village Hall yesterday.
Our resiliency and unity have brought us to a new and brighter day in the Village of Dalton.
Henyard's tenure as mayor was marred by controversy that included a number of investigations. House easily defeated her in February's Democratic primary. News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Al Dursky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound, about 11 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to the Lakeshore Drive, 22 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, about 20 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring in your scrap, gold jewelry, and sterling flatware. Cash or check offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some occasional sun for today. Warmer afternoon. High today 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight. Low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Breezy. High 68. Partly sunny. Breezy. Much cooler on Thursday. High 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I suppose before we talk about what's going on campus, which, extends to every nook and cranny of the United States when you socialize student loan debt as the previous regime did. But before we do that, Trump had more to say on reopening Alcatraz yesterday in the context of really border migrant deportation policy, as well as a new proposal to incentivize self-deportation, first on Alcatraz.
You get the idea for reopening Alcatraz? Just an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, that came in illegally. That would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, you know, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, you know, it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
And then he's also said he's going to put tariffs on all films not filmed at Alcatraz.
We 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I mean, do you think he's really going to do this, or is he just trolling? Because have you been to Alcatraz? And we'd love to hear from anybody who's been there.
I've been to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I went to like a family vacation when I was like to San Francisco when I was like in, I don't know, third grade or something.
Okay, but I mean, it's a national park. They make millions of dollars a year on tourism, taking, you know, obviously tourists to the island and back. It closed in 1963 for a reason. And what I learned during the tour is that it was 3 times as much to cost to run that prison as to run any other prison, because it's on an island and they had to ship everything there and they had to ship garbage off. So that's one of the reasons why they closed it.
Tough to escape.
Well, yeah, that's true,
a lot of people tried.
But, I mean, he's got to talk to the Department of the Interior because it's a national monument. I mean, I just think that this is trolling.
Well, I mean, look.
I mean, I know why he's doing it. I understand his frustration because these radical judges are continuing the Biden administration's promise to keep illegals in this country.
I'm not sure if he was talking about that for the purpose of he wants to put federal judges in Alcatraz, or if he wants to put people in this country illegal in Alcatraz. That was unclear to me.
Yeah.
Perhaps a combination of the two.
Well, somebody suggested, too, just leave it as it is and bring the prisoners there, and they can sleep on those old cots that have been there since 1960.
Well, obviously, you're talking about, at minimum, hundreds of thousands of people, so that's going to require more than Alcatraz. This is... it is exactly what he said. I mean, he wasn't obtuse about it. It's a symbol of law and order, a symbol that I'm serious. We're going to put people on an island. We're getting people off of mainland soil, if you will. We're going to put people who are public safety threats in places where they can't be public safety threats. And if I can't do it in El Salvador, then I'll do it in Alcatraz. That's what he's saying. And I think at this point it is largely a rhetorical point that he is making. Is it feasible? Sure, anything's feasible. Could we bring Alcatraz back online? Yeah, we have the know-how to do that. Is that what's going to happen? I think that's very much in doubt. So he's making a point, because at the same time he's saying that, what's the other thing he rolls out? You know, we'll pay for your flight and give you $1,000 to leave at the Charlie Weiss program. We'll pay you not to coach. We'll pay you not to be here. What do you think about that? That's a little bit more interesting. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Tricia McLaughlin, Homeland Security Assistant Secretary, explaining it.
We'll give you this money that you can leave today. It's the safest way. You will not be arrested. You will not be detained.
I mean, if I'm here illegally and I might have committed maybe a misdemeanor or something, and I saw the video, which people have seen, of all the Tren de Agua people being shipped to that El Salvadorian prison, I would sign up right now. And you could do it via an app on your phone, and they will give you $1,000 because it's cheaper. It's $17,000 if we go and find you and then deport you. But if you self-deport, $1,000 for the flight, $1,000 stipend, plus they'll fly you home. It's a good gig.
John in Crown Point, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I love you guys.
Oh, boy.
I love Amy. Love Amy more.
Are you at Alcatraz right now?
No, I did
still
go
housed
visit
there?
it, though.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I think, it's a good idea. Put the illegal aliens there, and then just keep it open as still a museum, and you can take your kids and go, look, the illegal alien.
Yeah, Glass Menagerie. Okay, Tennessee Williams. Thanks for the call, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, they're offering refugees $34,000 to return home. So $1,000, I mean, I don't know if that's enough to incentivize people to leave.
Well, we'll see. I guess that'll be put to a market test. We'll see how much adoption they get from people in this country illegally. Look, I mean, we talked about this with Professor Richard Epstein yesterday. We've talked about this on and off for a number of weeks. I understand the president's frustration, but, the journey of the proverbial 1,000 miles begins with these single steps, and he's taken a lot of single steps. He's well along the way on the journey. However, I think one of the things you do, and you fight this out in courts all the way up to the Supreme Court, the interpretation of the Alien Enemies Act and the lines of demarcation between the executive power when it comes to controlling our borders and what requires congressional authorization and so forth. Go ahead and fight it out. But in the meantime, you can do things that are more obviously on the side of erring on the side of due process. And we talked about that yesterday. Dershowitz has mentioned it too. Is probable cause to remove somebody, particularly those that have a final order of deportation that has not been enforced or had one, and then they came back into this country illegally. They cannot prove up their citizenship. If you can't prove up your citizenship, and you have this other contextual information, like Abrao Garcia, for example, cause celeb of the left, then you're out of here. We'll put you in a safe third country at the U.S. Embassy. We'll have an expedited hearing so that your due process rights are checked via Zoom. You're off of American soil. Well, you're at the embassy. That's American soil, but you know what I'm saying. You're not on the mainland in America. And there'll be an expeditious adjudication, and you just continue to move as many cases as you can move, while these larger issues of constitutional power are adjudicated in the federal courts.
And President Trump said, if you self-deport, you're not ruled out from coming back into this country.
We're going to work with them so that maybe someday, with a little work, they can come back in if they're good people.
But then I kept thinking, I'm like, should the government use our tax dollars to reward illegal aliens with breaking the law? I mean, that's also like, I'll give you $1,000. I'd like $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'd like a trip to Mexico or a warm weather place sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, but, you have to be practical about these things, too, and you want to be seen as humane and not doing this cruelly for people that have committed no other crime other than the crime of coming here illegally, separating those from those who present public safety threats. You want to say, look, don't make us do all the heavy lifting. Just leave peacefully, and you have an opportunity to come back, and here's a way to make it easy to leave peacefully. I think that's fair. I think that's a practical approach to see if you can incentivize people because of exactly what you just said. Number one, the cost and the manpower is much more than just paying out the cost of a flight and the stipend. Number two, I mean, look, you're trying to remove people from this country illegally. You're running separate tracks. You don't have all the manpower in the world. You don't have all the time in the world. If you can provide a one-time incentive structure that encourages people to volunteer, then it makes some sense. People respond to incentives. It makes some sense. So I can live with it. It's not ideal, but he's got a situation that is far from ideal. So I can live with this as one of the policy offerings across a range of enforcement action. It doesn't offend me. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. What offends me is obviously the ongoing problem with wrangling people who do pose public safety threats in this country, getting them out of this country. That's what wrangles me, and I think that's where his focus is and Tom Homan's focus is, and that's where it should be until you can. I mean, what's the number right now? They're like 65,000.
66,000.
Yeah,
the first 100
so
days.
that's a long way. It's a long way to go.
Long way.
I mean, they've done a lot. There's no question. I'm not being critical. They've done a lot in a short amount of time, but there's a long way to go. I mean, the problem is just so massive. I think it's hard for people to fully appreciate. But all the effort that has been put forward in the first 100 days, and you're at less than 1/10 of your first target group, those people who pose public safety threats because they've been convicted of a crime other than coming here illegally, or they're awaiting trial for a crime that is other that relates to something other than coming here illegally.
Speaking of illegals, you know who is slowly disappearing into the ether? Abrao Garcia. I didn't see anything about him yesterday at all on social media, and I keep checking, like, interesting.
Yeah, they're starting to bob and weave around it. Pramila Jayapal, who was the band manager for the Socialist Spice Girls, I guess the actual term is the chairman of the Progressive Caucus or some Orwellian euphemism. She was asked about Abrao Garcia on MSNBC, and she, moved like a butterfly when she was asked.
Immigration and a whole number of other issues right now are confused about their party's messaging. To go back to immigration, to hear that some members of the party are going to El Salvador trying to raise support while others are saying this is not our issue, Trump wins on this, we'll be quiet on it. What's your message to people who are worried the Democrats still do not have their stuff together for this fight?
Well, I think that the core message is that Democrats are going to fight for working class and poor people across this country. And we're going to fight to give you the things you need to have a decent life, right? Affordable housing, a roof over your head.
Yeah, so you go to the generic talking points because you don't want to engage on the actual case, the Abrao Garcia case. I mean, it's the obvious pivot. In Chicago, CNN trying to instigate as best they can, not just by sending reporters down to find out if cartel members are feeling bad about Trump's policy, declaring like the Sinaloa cartel a terrorist organization, to see if that upsets cartel members. You see that interview. Remarkable. But platforming Cermak Road Chamber's very own, Cermak Road Chamber, like in Chicago, Hector Escobar. Because, yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and Hector Escobar canceled the Cinco de Mayo parade, because Trump and people are afraid and so forth.
Honestly, they're saying they don't want to go to work. They had to work because they had to feed the families. So if both they were working, now one person is working. So that took us to consensus around the community and ask them, how about the parade? How about the festivities? And they say, well, if we're scared to go to work, I don't think it's nothing to celebrate. So that took us the decision over money. So because money is an issue here for the communities or the business there, or people are scared. And it took that hard decision because, we lose money, the business lose money, but we had to protect our people, more important than money. And we see all over the country this picking up people with no criminal records. And honestly, it's horrible what we have seen in my 45 years I've been living here in the United States.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if money's an issue, you got $1,000 to leave if you're here illegally.
Well, also too, we had Alderman Rodriguez on, and Ray Lopez, excuse me, and he said the real reason why they canceled the Cinco de Mayo parade in Chicago is not because people are afraid of they're getting snatched in the middle of the parade, but because this parade has become more violent year after year after year, and they were looking for an excuse. So that's what they did. That's why they canceled it.
Mm-hmm. Hector Escobar, the president of the Cermak Road Chamber, he's a civic leader, don't you know? He said sanctuary city protections are not enough. We need more.
We are in the sanctuary city, and supposedly we're protected. Yeah, we're protected from the state, from the city. The police department doesn't get involved. The state police department do not get involved. But does not stop the federal government to go and grab anyone. And, of course, we're losing money from the federal government services, which are provided for the most needed people. And it's kind of terrible
So not just a stipend, but some sort of refund for whatever Hector Escobar says people in this country illegally have paid into the system. They should get some sort of refund. Yeah. Well, that's one perspective. Dave in Romeoville.
Hi. Yeah, I was just going to say, when you were talking about that $1,000 being kind of a magnet for people to come, as long as the border's closed, we can support a lot of different ideas. Even some of these people working, I would support some people that have stepping up, to get a work visa or whatever, or even a path to citizenship. But you can't do it if you leave the border open, and it's just going to be a problem again and again and again.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Thanks for the call, Dave. What been saying on this show for years. You want to talk about a guest worker program? You want to talk about expediting the citizenship process? I'm happy to talk about any and all of it. The current statutory regime regarding immigration in this country is hardly beyond reproach. There's a lot of things that could be done to update it and make it more sensible, more efficient, and more relevant for 21st century America. But until exactly what Dave said, he's right on the mark. Until you secure the border, until you have control of the situation of who comes in and on what terms, then there's nothing to talk about. When you're going to let people who pose public safety threats, who are on terrorist watch lists, into this country willy-nilly, and you just basically send the clarion call out the world over saying, come whenever you want, for whatever reason, and do whatever you want, well, then we have nothing to talk about. Secure that border? Now we have a lot to talk about. Very, very simple. That's actually a point the Trump administration should reiterate. Now that we are on this, because Trump has made reference guest worker programs and things like that, too. This is not a novel idea. So, at the same time we're removing people that should be removed, we can be starting to contemplate sensible inbound immigration, even if temporary, that's in the interests of both people who want to come here to make money, even temporarily, as well as the industries that need them, to the extent that that is defined by the government. And, with some input from said industries. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, good morning. I think Trump's just really frustrated with the judges, and that's why he's trolling with Alcatraz. Amy's 100% right. It'd be way too much money to bring.
It's not too much money.
I think it'd be billions.
It's ridiculous. So what? What are we talking about? We just have to say it is not a money issue, for goodness sakes. $6 trillion spend. I mean, it's too.
It's not going to. It's a national monument.
It doesn't matter. It is not. We can't do it because we can't afford it. That is not what's happening here. Have you paid attention to the way the federal government spends money? Try to follow the narrative, even your own. It has nothing to do with money. It rarely does at the federal level. It rarely does at the governmental level. If they want to do something, they will find the money. And if they want to do something, they will borrow the money. Even if it's at usurious rates. This is all about message sending. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. If
you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709.
AM 560, The Answer.
You know what, Dan, the bigger issue here is I brought in 2 rocks from Alcatraz and somebody took them. This is worse than losing my balance of nature. George Hoffman, I'm looking at you. Where are my rocks? All right, coming up.
those are priceless.
Well, it was part of the $50 million restoration project they have going. So I thought, I'll pay $5. And then I picked it up yesterday and it was starting to crumble, the lime. But anywho, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, your life for her life.
Uh-oh.
Your life for her life. A life for a life. Would you trade years on your life to add years to your pet's life? 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Wall Street looks to bounce back today after stocks closed in the red Monday to begin the new trading week. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 98 points. The S&P 500 snapped a 9-day winning streak, falling 36 points. Time is running out to get a real ID if you want to board a plane. The Trump administration says all states need to comply by tomorrow's deadline. Real ID is an enhanced security driver's license that will be needed to board any domestic airline flight in lieu of a passport. A search is underway for a man who escaped from the Layton Criminal Court building in Chicago. Richard Cotton appeared before a judge yesterday at the courthouse on multiple gun felony charges. After the judge ordered him detained while awaiting trial, Cotton ran out of the courtroom and exited the courthouse. A warrant has been issued for his arrest. News is the service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Aldersky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
You've probably been hearing a lot of buzz about tariffs.
I haven't.
Really?
What's a tariff?
It's a tax on imported goods.
It makes these imported goods more expensive.
Oh, that explains why I've never heard of tariffs.
Why?
Because 92.3% of the furniture at Penny Mustard is made in the USA.
True.
In fact, most of it is built by local craftsmen and women right here in the Midwest.
And locally sourced furniture will never have a tariff on it.
So when you invest in new furniture at Penny Mustard, you won't be paying extra taxes and shipping costs.
Besides, tariffs or no tariffs, our American-made Penny Mustard Strong furniture will last generations longer than IFE-made furniture shipped in from overseas.
You get so much more for your money when you buy American.
Tell me more about these tariffs.
Can we talk about this later? I'm so tired of hearing about them.
Oh, so I guess you can say that all this talk about tariffs is taxing.
I see what you did there.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Come hungry to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's, benefiting the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Join us Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street and use the cashier code Portillo's20. The night's bill is on Scott Tucker, and you eating free Portillo's helps support the families of fallen and disabled Chicago police officers and their families via the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Enjoy your favorites, hot dogs, Italian beef, and chocolate cake. Scott Tucker is picking up the check, and Portillo's is donating 20% of gross sales to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. So bring your appetite to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's. It's Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street. And make sure to use the cashier code Portillo's20. Eat well and come out and run up Scott Tucker's bill and support the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. We'll see you there. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414, 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414, 800-208-0414, and give us your answer. The preceding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to NORDICUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
From the Team Hofburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 20 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. On the outbound side, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. It's pretty solid between 95th and 91st due to an earlier accident. This report is sponsored by True Green. Summer is better with True Green. Get the best lawn at the best price. For a limited time, get 75% off your first treatment. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com today and let the pros handle the work while you enjoy the results. Restrictions apply. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds, occasional sun today, the high at 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow, breezy, high 68. Partly sunny, breezy, much cooler day on Thursday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
It's time for Animal Stories with
with Uncle Dan and Little Amy.
Yeah, apologies to Larry Lujak for ripping his bed. Speaking of which, there's a new restaurant in Naples called Lujak's.
Oh, I wonder if it's.
And somebody
Go in
told
there.
me it is related
Really?
to the Lujak family. I don't know though. I got to check that out.
Okay.
Okay, on this installment of Animal Stories,
I will give you her life for your life.
it's a Man on Fire survey of 2,000 cat and dog owners. 56% of them have been rescued by their cat or dog in one way or the other, so they say. And therefore, 56% of these surveyed cat and or dog owners are willing to repay the favor and would trade years off their own life so that their pet could live longer. Are you also insane like these 56% of cat and dog owners? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Excuse me, Dan Proft. You have a dog named Hayek that I know you love deeply. And the question is to you, Mr. I don't cry and I have no feelings. Would you give up years of your life for Hayek?
No.
And cut. Okay, coming up on Chicago this morning.
I mean, it's no.
What do you mean, no?
No, there's
No.
there's a rank order priority here.
Okay.
And I am prioritized over Hayek by me. I mean, I do. I love my dog, and he's a great dog. But I mean, let's get real here. Although there's another aspect of this survey that speaks to why more than half of the surveyed cat and or dog owners are willing to trade years off their life for their pet to live longer, if that was an option. The results found that respondents are away from their pet. It takes an average of just 5 hours before their mental health starts to decrease. 41% say it wanes within the first 2 hours. So they start to, I don't know, they go and start to have a mental health crisis if they're away from their cat or dog at least, half of the those surveyed, almost half within the first 2 hours.
Well, that's when you make your dog a service animal.
In addition to this, just more data to
Yes, please.
contemplate and coming to an answer to this question. Nearly 40% of pet owners trust their pet's instincts more than their own. What do you think, Lassie? Okay, sure.
Trust their pet's instincts more than their own? That's weird.
So
I mean, who's leading the blind here? I mean, your dog doesn't lead you. You teach your dog manners and how to behave, and that's just strange.
Says someone with a therapy dog.
But I will tell you, my dog is instinctual. Because before I got Goldilocks security, somebody I thought was breaking into the house. The dog woke me up right away. She knew, she was barking, and she's a great guard dog, believe it or not.
Yes,
She's an overweight
dogs
English
and
bulldog.
cats are instinctive because they are not sapient. They don't have wisdom.
No.
They have
cats
instincts.
cats are survivalists. I mean, cats are smart as heck. I'm telling you, cats are so much smarter than dogs. Well, you know that. You say Angel, your cat, wasn't that?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes. Yes, I
you
often
read?
consulted my cat on major life decisions.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line.
I haven't heard the answer to the question of if you would trade years of your life so that Bunky could live a longer life.
No, because I have children.
I will give you her life for your life.
There you go. There's the offer.
I would not do that. I'm sorry. And I love her to pieces. And she's getting old, Dan. I don't know how much longer she's going to be around because she's.
Are you talking about you or her?
I am talking about my dog.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because when we go through the airport, I have to get her a wheelchair soon or get one of those dog carriers to put her in like a stroller.
Yeah, of course.
That I won't look absolutely bat blank crazy doing that, right? But no, I mean, I understand why some people would, but no, I'm not. No, because I have children and I have other responsibilities and other people to take care of.
Your children are gone.
Okay, do I don't? You're gonna make me cry.
Well, they're grown up.
I know. Oh, and by the way, Peyton did get another internship. Thank goodness.
That's
He got doged. But I said it's a life lesson. You know what? Things don't work out as planned. Now go find another internship, and he did. No, I don't know. I just, and I've never had a dog before. And this is your first dog too, right? Isn't Hayek your first dog?
Yes.
Which, by the way, a bunch of people have texted in. Dear Lord, I hope Hayek is not listening to this segment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he would be mortally wounded. Yeah, I'm going to be shunned when I get home. He listens on the AM 560 app. Yeah, back at the compound.
So what are we doing here, Dan and Amy? Are we trading dog years for human years?
No. Just in human years, let's say 2 years off your life for an extra 2 years for the dog, which is 14 for the dog.
Right.
What do you think?
That's enticing.
I mean, you don't have.
Okay.
I mean, I'm like philosophically, I would not do it, but practically, I might, because I don't really know if I got 2 good years left. I'll be honest with you. So
you're young, you're spry, you're doing Pilates, you're killing it on the golf course. You've had 2 holes in one in the past month. You show off. One's not enough. Dan has to have 2 holes in one.
I think Hayek probably brings more joy to people than I do. So, maybe that would be a selfless act, out the door, a selfless act about, if you could transfer years like they suggest.
Right. Here's another question, Dan and Amy. How much would you spend to extend life with when medical issues arise? That's another thing. I mean, that's
a whole nother thing.
Ugh. That pet insurance. Thank God I have pet insurance, and thank God it works. But man, dogs and cats, they are expensive when they get sick. Ooh, and I know some people that don't have the money to do things, and they just let their animal pass away.
That's been one of the great helps, actually. The left has the great advances the left has made on behalf of all of us is, you can marry your dog now and put them on your insurance. In the era
until they're 26.
In the era of anything goes. So so Hayek is my significant other on my Salem insurance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The whole that whole what would you pay? Would you pay? That's I don't know. It's just like kind of a sliding scale, right? It's how much for the prospects, the prospects of a positive outcome, and how much more it would extend the dog or the cat's life. I mean, those are it's complicated formulas, and also the wherewithal of the person who's the pet owner and stuff too. That's tough. That's not as cut and dry. This is pretty cut and dry. If there was a mechanism by which you could just transfer a couple of years, I don't know. Maybe if I got up there a little bit more. I mean, because I'm sort of in the Zeke Emanuel camp. I mean, who really wants to live beyond 75?
You're not. You just turned 53, I think, or 52, right?
What are you running around talking about my age and in a public forum? Turnabout can be fair play on that score. Yeah. Although I got to say, Hayek is not exactly the bundle of energy he was as a pup anymore.
Exactly. So, yep. Remember when our dogs used to frolic in the snow and have fun? When we had events and I would watch the dogs and walk them, and now,
he's
Funky just walks out, does her business, and wants to walk right back in the house.
Yeah, much more sedentary.
Sad to see.
Used to greet me at the door. Now he's like, it's not worth it. And so it's like, okay.
Okay, all right, sure.
I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that when they invent a way for me to extend your life by sacrificing some of mine. I'm going to remember when you just, phoned it in when I got home. Maybe not. Yeah.
I'm don't want to think about life without Bunky.
Yeah, I know. Some of the responses to this online are pretty interesting because, people are crazy about their pets.
Yeah.
I would rather burn alive with my dog or break my back carrying him to safety than to ever think about leaving him alone to suffer and die when I'm all he has.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
It's getting deep.
I don't know. Well, I'd be the burn alive with my dog. I mean, I would try to get him out of the house being on fire, of course, but it's a little aggressive. Jeff in Cal City.
Hi, good morning. I think people are a little crazy on this. I mean, I bet you the vast majority of people who would say they would trade their years almost exclusively have no children.
Yep.
Because if they did,
56% of those surveyed, 56% of 2,000 people
half.
surveyed, some of those people have to have kids.
Yeah. And Amy, when you have grandkids, I know you would not trade years of your life with your grandchildren for a dog. No.
I hope I have grandkids.
Well, why don't you ask the kids and grandkids what you should do? Could be a different answer.
Oh, it's like when people retire because I want to spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
Did you ask your family if they wanted to spend more time with you?
Right. It's always those conversations, those statements are always one way. How about getting input from those you think you're doing such a great thing by spending more time with them? Maybe they're not quite as ecstatic about it as you are. Danny in Virginia.
Hey, guys. Good morning. I thought about it, and I kind of figured my animals owe me at this point. So, yeah.
You want to call?
Are they going to be willing to pick up your poop on the ground? I don't know.
I've been doing it for them. I've got a son. He's going to be wiping my bottom, and things are going to come full circle.
Something to look forward to for your boy. Yeah, thanks for the call, Danny.
Ooh, Zeke Emmanuel's looking good right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, I've got bigger plans for my golden years than a family member.
Wiping your arse?
Something a bit more upscale and attractive than that, I hope. But I the idea that that could go both ways too. Would you take a couple of years from your dog or
give
cat
yourself?
to extend your life?
Oh yeah.
That seems a bit selfish.
Sure does, but I mean, they're not getting up and walking down the street anymore. I mean, no, don't make me go there. Text message: pets should add to life. Pets aren't here for a long time; they're here for the good times.
It's true. They do. It definitely adds to quality of life. I get that, but
gives you purpose. I mean,
yeah,
especially people are going through depression and so. Like poor Bunky has seen me through some pretty rough times. But some pretty good times, too. Like, Bunky got to go to Alcatraz. Bunky gets to go everywhere. She's been to Hawaii. She's been on 90-plus flights and counting.
Bunky's lived a life.
She has. Oh, that dog has lived a great life. Surfing in St. Croix. I mean, she's done it all.
Well, I guess, because this, I assume, at some point, some futurist Peter Thiel or somebody's going to invent this thing. And so when it comes, I guess I'll just stick with my philosophical position, which is let's just leave it up to the Almighty on this for both the pets and the humans. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chavato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, But having a bank that you could trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just a history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In 1845, Mexico was in political turmoil, and its president, Jose Joaquin de Herrera, refused to accept the U.S. diplomat John Slidell, who was on a mission to acquire California, New Mexico, and then settle the Texas border at the Rio Grande. Mexico was in a weak position because its prior president, Antonio Y. Lopez de Santa Anna, refused to deal with the former Lone Star Republic. This boundary dispute then led to the Mexican-American War, and the U.S., because of a separate settlement over the Oregon Territory with Britain, nearly doubled in size for a second time in 40 years. Manifest destiny was now complete. Or is it complete? Canada at one point was prestigious and powerful enough to have its own beach, Juneau, at the Normandy landings. It also used to have a conservative prime minister in John Diefenbacher in the 1950s. But today it is a sad sack of a socialist country that just last week returned the pro-euthanasia Liberal Party to power and is now led by the openly hostile globalist Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is talking up Canada becoming part of a transatlantic EU. If this threat, and that is what it is, a threat, moves closer to reality, Canada's annexation becomes inevitable, as no U.S. government can allow a potentially hostile power to exist on the North American continent. Greenland, too, would then fall into place, unlike Baja California, which U.S. diplomat Nicholas Trist failed to include in the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, greatly upsetting President Polk. In 1516, Sir Thomas More wrote a book expressing his views on what an ideal society would look like. But given the structure of the world at the time, he knew this could exist nowhere, hence the title Utopia, which literally means no place in Greek, but might also best describe the condition of our current neighbor to the north.
Oh, very good, Frank. Yes, nicely done. The annexation of Canada, so it's more than saber-rattling if Mark Carney does more than saber-rattling. That's what you think?
Well, I just think it's a big, it's like, how is Canada going to survive? They're a $2 trillion economy. We're a $32 trillion economy, something like that. They're facing deflation from the Chinese dumping that's occurring there right now. They, I don't know. I just think it's something that's going to happen at some point in the next 5 to 10 years. Absolutely. I don't care who's president. We cannot have the EU, which is in many respects hostile to us, having, some sort of beachhead, if you want to call it, on the North American continent, especially when China, has been rising. Right now it seems to be having some trouble because of Trump's policies and standing up to them. But, I think Canada is definitely going to be a part of the United States, and Greenland, too.
That's interesting. It'll be interesting if that topic comes up in the confab. Is Trump meeting with Carney today, this week,
yes,
right?
No, today, Tuesday.
Yeah,
yep,
today.
He's on his way.
He is. He's coming hat in hand.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to pass this along to Trump and see if he wants to query Carney about it when they meet, Frank. Thanks for the commentary, as
Thank
always.
You.
And
have a great week.
You too. Thanks, Frank. And Since he mentioned Sir Thomas More, and since we've spent so much time talking about the rule of law of late, I would be remiss if I didn't treat the audience to Schofield, why am I blanking his name? Paul Schofield as Sir Thomas More in A Man for All Seasons, his famous speech about giving the devil the benefit of the law.
Arrest him.
For what?
He's dangerous.
For libel. He's a spy.
Father, that man's bad.
There's no law against that. There is God's law. Then God can arrest him.
While you talk, he's gone.
And go he should if he were the devil himself until he broke the law. So, now you'd give the devil benefit of law. Yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil? Yes. I'd cut down every law in England to do that. Oh? And when the last law was down and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper, the laws all being flat? This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast, man's laws, not God's. And if you cut them down, and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then? Yes, I'd give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake.
A lesson the left didn't learn, and now they're learning it the hard way with President Trump in the White House. We'll start there with Adam Kissel, visiting fellow for higher education reform in the Center for Education Policy. Talk a little bit about the Ivy League and what Bill Ackman had to say about his alma mater. That would be Harvard. That's 7:07.
Today, we're going to have sunshine finally and warmer weather, a high near 73 degrees. That'll be great. Get out and enjoy. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Will trade talks be tense at the White House? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We'll find out in a few hours when Canada's new leader shows up for a meeting.
When asked at the White House Monday what he expects from his visit with Canada's new Liberal Party Prime Minister Mark Carney, President Trump said,
I don't know, he's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
The president did praise Carney last week, and Carney said of his phone call with the president that it was very constructive. He said his government will fight to get the best deal for Canada, that he knows the discussions will not be easy. But as for Canada becoming the U.S.'s 51st state, Carney has said this will never happen.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Trade will also be an issue in Congress, where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will testify this morning.
Bessent is likely to face questions not just from Democrats, but also Republicans on the administration's plans on tariffs, as many lawmakers are facing questions from constituents who export products to other countries.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the Capitol. Other Trump cabinet members will also testify at the House this morning. The Homeland Security Secretary will be asked about the new plan to get illegal immigrants to self-deport, paying for their flights and giving them $1,000 after they've left. Christy Noem tells Fox.
It saves us thousands and thousands of dollars, and it also is a much safer situation for officers and for those in communities.
For a second night in a row, Ukraine attacked Russia with drones. Some reached the capital.
Moscow's mayor claims at least 19 Ukrainian drones were destroyed before they reached the city. Sergei Sobyanin says some debris landed on a highway, but there were no casualties. All 4 of the city's main airports closed for several hours as a precaution, but have now reopened.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Israel's been hitting Houthi militants with airstrikes in Yemen, and today warned people living near the airport in Sana'a to evacuate as the Israelis retaliate for a missile launched by Iran-backed Houthis over the weekend that did damage near the busy Tel Aviv airport, disrupting flights. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 49 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House says it's stopping new federal research grants to Harvard.
It's just the latest in the war of words between the Trump administration and the Ivy League institution. Education Secretary Linda McMahon sent a letter to Harvard's president citing serious failures in dealing with anti-Semitism and racial discrimination and for not allowing viewpoint diversity. Harvard has previously said that the president is attempting to stifle free speech and academic freedom. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Longtime U.S. Representative Jan Schakowsky won't be seeking a 15th term next year. The Evanston Democrat announced that she isn't going to run for Congress yesterday during her 24th annual Ultimate Women's Power Lunch fundraiser in Chicago.
I knew I could decide either way, but I just made the decision that the time has come to let let others take their place.
The 80-year-old has served as the U.S. representative for Illinois' 9th congressional district since 1999. She is the second member of Illinois' congressional delegation to retire in recent weeks after U.S. Senator Dick Durbin announced last month that he wasn't seeking re-election. We're celebrating some pretty important people today. It's National Teacher Appreciation Day. In addition, it's also National Nurses Day, marking the first day of National Nurses Week. The week ends May 12th on the birthday of the late Florence Nightingale, who was widely recognized as the founder of modern nursing. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical BPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down. Here she comes. Shh. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 20 minutes. Going to be a bit slow between Elson and Montrose. Outbound 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound about 31 minutes. That's due to a crash. Left lanes blocked. Outbound between Madison and Ohio. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 36 minutes. Outbound 24 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes. Outbound about 23 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey's offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some occasional sun for today. Warmer afternoon. High today 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight. Low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Breezy high 68. Partly sunny, breezy, much cooler on Thursday. High 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the Harvard professorate is passing the hat. They've got about $2 million pledge from members of the Harvard faculty, people pledging 10% of their salary to help underwrite Harvard's fight against the Trump administration. We talked a bit about it last week with that Alan Garber interview on, I believe it was 60 Minutes, the president of Harvard, where he was baffled that that Harvard would have some of its federal funding held up because of a problem he admitted on campus, which is anti-Semitism. One of the many problems, illiberal problems that afflict that supposedly small L liberal institution of higher learning. Well, Bill Ackman is a Harvard alum, billionaire investor, and he has really, since Harvard got engulfed by these pro-Hamas undergrads, like so much of the rest of the Ivy League did, Bill Ackman has been one of the most vociferous and consistent critics of Harvard and the Ivy League. He was on MSNBC yesterday responding to Harvard's response to the Trump administration and Trump's response to that response, coming over the top and suggesting that Harvard should have its nonprofit status stripped in addition to its federal funding. Here's Ackman on CNBC yesterday.
The wrong thing to do is receive a letter from the administration and write back saying, we're doing nothing. In fact, we're going to sue you. Okay, that's what Harvard did. What Harvard should have done is should have said, President Trump, you make some good points, right? Taxpayer money coming to Harvard, that's a privilege. It's not a right. And, taxpayer money, going to an institution, the institution cannot have massive amounts of administrative bloat, waste, bureaucracy, and we're going to eliminate it. We're going to hire Alex Partners, or restructuring firm. We're going to take a 3G, zero-based budgeting approach to our the way we run our administration. Things that are not inefficiency is causing harm, and we're wasting taxpayer money. Mr. President, you're right. Harvard has become, there is not viewpoint diversity at Harvard. Students are self-censoring their remarks in classrooms. Faculty are doing the same because people are afraid to have real conversations. You can't learn. You go to college to be exposed to a broad array of ideas. And I guess maybe I should be looking at Joe. Broad array of ideas, and that's not happening at Harvard. Free speech is not happening at Harvard. So you acknowledge the areas where the president is absolutely correct, and you say, look, we're going to fix those areas. Okay, we want to make a deal, Mr. President. What have we seen from Trump? He asked for the moon, kind of shock and awe. Okay, same thing true for Harvard. That most recent letter, you could argue it's certainly overreaching in some of the elements, but he wants to make a deal. Make a deal with the president. Commit to fix these things, which, by the way, your alumni want you to fix. It's in the best interest of Harvard. And treat shareholder, taxpayer money like as a fiduciary, and they're not doing that. And Harvard is not in a good financial position. This is something I think is not well appreciated. They nominally have a $53 billion endowment. I don't believe the carrying values of their endowment. 80% of the assets are invested in real estate, private equity, and venture capital.
So it's not liquid.
It's not liquid, and they're apparently selling us $1 billion slice of their private equity. Watch where that gets priced relative to the carrying value of the portfolio. My guess is it could be 30-40% below the current carrying value to get a bid. If in my business, if I owned a slice of something, I sold a piece of it at a 30-40% discount, I'd have to remark my entire portfolio. So one, the endowment, in my view, is massively overstated in terms of what it's really worth. The second thing is no one talks about the fact that Harvard now has $8 billion of debt. I read the prospectus for the recent bond issue. They have, so you have $53 billion of overstated assets that are illiquid, and you have $7.9 billion of debt, which you owe. As a donor, do you want to give money to a nonprofit institution, which is going to go into the institution and going to go out the door to pay money interest to bondholders? My experience is nonprofits that borrow money, it doesn't end well. And then you have, what do they rely on for current funding? Money every year from the U.S. government, money every year from donations. Donations, I don't know, I have to believe they're down meaningfully. And tax-exempt status. Another reason that induces people to give money to their university is to get a tax deduction.
Fair or unfair to try to take the tax-exempt status away?
I think it's fair. Again, the Harvard became, over time, a political advocacy organization for one party. When a university goes from being a university to, affecting becoming a political advocacy organization, it doesn't deserve nonprofit status.
Well said. And I got to tell you, the riff that Ackman, who knows that sector, offered on Harvard's endowment and its actual financial position, the perspective, the outside perspective is that all these Ivy League universities and the other quote unquote elite universities, they're so flush and financially nimble, and maybe they're neither. And if they're not, if the picture is as precarious as Ackman paints for Harvard, then it's going to be like that for many other schools. And they've got some real vulnerability when Trump starts to move in the direction of things that can materially impact the existence of these places. And that's the only thing that they respond to. So, for Ackman to endorse the idea of stripping Harvard of its nonprofit status because it's become a political advocacy organization like so many of these universities have become, boy, I love it. That's advancing the flag. For more on this, because one of the things that he said at the beginning, Bill Ackman, that needs to be explored is, the response should have been, let's make a deal. We're going to move in the direction of these reforms and let's make a deal, Mr. President. But is Harvard and similarly situated universities and colleges, can they really make deals? They have so given themselves over to that political advocacy he was describing. Are they salvageable? I mentioned this time again, the University of Pennsylvania law professor Amy Wax years ago saying, forget it. They're done. Essentially implode them intellectually and start over. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Adam Kissel, visiting fellow for higher education reform in the Center for Education Policy at the Heritage Foundation. He's got a new book, Slacking, a Guide to Ivy League Miseducation. Adam Kissel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
How do you react to Bill Ackman's rather stark observations?
Mr. Ackman is right on with his analysis of what's happened at Harvard. It's the same as what's happened with the other legacy elite institutions. They've been losing the respect they used to deserve. It's not just anti-Semitism. It's 35 to 50 years of political correctness that has poisoned and created cultural rot in our elite institutions of higher education. The book Slacking shows that there's no moral center or vision of human development or of the great ideas and conversation that uphold our civilization among the core curriculum courses across the Ivy League, with the exception of Columbia, which is a special case because they have done it for 100 years. But the others have utterly failed in the humanities and social sciences, and they've replaced Western Civ with political correctness. And this is a generation or two in the making. If we want to see Harvard and Princeton and Penn and Yale and Brown Dartmouth reform themselves, it's going to take another generation or two because admissions is broken, the faculty is broken, the culture of the place is broken. Just taking Harvard as our example today, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression gave Harvard 0.0 points for free speech in its national survey, the lowest possible score. And it would have been negative except for the mercy rule. And that's the kind of culture that having a bad curriculum perpetuates. At Harvard, you could take a course, Zombies, Witchcraft, and Uncanny Science, in order to meet your arts and humanities requirement. Or you could take Global Transgender Histories to meet your arts and humanities requirement. Or in the social sciences at Harvard, you could take Legitimacy and Resistance in an Unjust World. This is a core curriculum requirement. This isn't Western Civ. You could take a course called Fascism and Far-Right Movements, and you can guess who they think are the fascists.
Yeah.
So it goes on and on across the whole Ivy League.
Well, yeah, we were talking about general education requirements at Cornell and queer girlhood and Beyonce Nation. That's an actual class?
Right. So you could take lots of pulp culture classes to meet your humanities requirements. At places like Cornell, you study, instead of Beowulf, you get Bad Bunny. Or you get Cardi B. Of course, that's looking at the WAP song. Better not to say what it even means. And you could have been reading Dante, but no, you're listening to pop music, and reaching students where they are shouldn't mean indulging their current pop culture desires.
Well, this is what Peter Thiel was saying a couple of weeks ago in an interview about these quote-unquote elite schools, which is there's nothing elite about them. The curriculum is not elite. They have been beset for, as you said, a couple of generations before DEI came into popular understanding. They were doing it. I saw it at Northwestern. I was there 30 years ago. Harvard Law, in writing, the Harvard Law Review made DEI the quote-unquote first priority of its admissions process to Harvard Law Review. It routinely kills or advances pieces based on the author's race. It even vets articles for racially diverse citations. That's what has been happening. And of course, Harvard disgraced itself with its undergraduate admissions process and earned a Supreme Court rebuke for doing so, discriminating against Asian American students. So, on the one hand, they still may be attracting some of the best students in America because of the prestige associated with it and sort of the institutional inertia and the networking of the of alumni. But in terms of the substance of what you get and how that does or doesn't prepare you for those elite circles in post in your post college life, there's nothing elite about them.
Well, I would much rather have my niece, who's starting at Florida State University this summer, be there taking honors courses than taking some of these courses across the Ivy League that supposedly count. The courses are often so bad because there's this idea that group identity is more important than individual identity. That's where you get the Harvard Law Review privileging people by race or sex. It's where you get admissions that privilege people by identity group and unprivilege or disadvantage those from disfavored identity groups. That whole system is broken. Why not look at each person's own merits and abilities to succeed and have the courses that inspire that same kind of individual achievement?
There's something else, too, another aspect of this. There was a report last week by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that found the unemployment rate for recent associate degree recipients in their 20s. Associate degree recipients in their 20s. So they graduated high school, maybe went to work and picked up a couple classes at the community college and got their 2-year degree in their 20s. Unemployment rate, 2.1%. For 4-year college grads, 15.3%. For advanced degree recipients, 8.5%. Now, in some respects, this is intuitive because you say, yeah, kids are going to graduate from high school and they're getting into the workforce, and then they're going back to get an associate's degree and maybe a 4-year degree too. So they're working their way through, and these 4-year, the kids that go to 4-year colleges or staying and getting an advanced degree are in that bubble. But I mean, what an indictment, though, of the collegiate system when you look at those numbers, because I'm sure that's not what mom and dad think when they're sending their kid to University of Illinois or the Ivy League or anywhere else.
What students and their parents need to understand is that the major you choose has a very strong correlation with the amount of money and whether you're employed once you graduate from college. There's really good return on investment data that we have now across the country, program by program, college by college, off of what's called the college scorecard. And you can see a few years out what your financial life is likely to look like because you studied gender studies or psychology and never got enough of a master's degree to actually practice as a psychologist. So you're at Starbucks, as they say. But if you become a petroleum engineer and you live in Oklahoma, you're going to be doing great. So you need to think carefully about what you study.
The other thing that was advanced by House Republicans, too, to address this sort of primrose path that a lot of young people are led down in terms of borrowing for these degrees that are of dubious value, some of them. They're looking at reducing the limit for undergraduate loans, the borrowing limit for master's degrees and doctoral programs as well, attaching limits on student borrowing to the median cost of college for programs nationwide and so forth. I mean, do you think those sorts of, if you can't get the federal government out of the subsidizing of college tuition altogether, being in the loan business, then at least what the House Republicans are doing, in addition to making people pay so they have to deal with the consequences of the choices they make and not just socialize them among the general populace, that what House Republicans are attempting to do is positive?
In general, it is. So you're talking about the reconciliation bill, which would basically say this is what a program ought to cost nationwide based on the actual data. And I think it will tend to drive tuition down for the ones that are relatively expensive. The problem on the other side is it starts to smell like a price control, and Republicans are normally supposed to be against that kind of thing. But this is trillions of dollars of the taxpayers' money. We currently have $1.6 trillion of outstanding student loans, and only 38% of borrowers are current on their loans. Something like 25 million borrowers are in default or about to be in default.
Jeez.
So when this amount of money is at stake, of the people's money, having universities share the risk of students not paying back their debt and parents not paying back their debt feels justified to me. And it's hard to figure out the right way to do it without pretty strong accountability measures coming from the federal level.
I wanted to put the same question to you that Aaron Ross Sorkin put to Bill Ackman. The threat of rescinding Harvard's nonprofit status or the nonprofit status of any university that is determined to be a political advocacy organization and not an institution of higher learning by some set of standards that are applied equitably, that are applied evenly across universities. Is that fair or unfair?
I'd say it's fair, but what I would prefer to see is that the government, I believe the IRS, in interpreting 501c3 status for educational institutions, have the same policy across the board for everyone. And the key word in 501c3 is the word exclusively. Now, there's exceptions for lobbying and exceptions for unrelated business income that does get taxed. So let's look systemically at the education sector and say, if what you're doing is not exclusively education and you're doing something else outside the 501c3 world, then maybe you need to get taxed for all of those other activities and maybe lose your entire status if you're not really an education institution. The joke about Harvard is that it's a hedge fund with a college attached.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And according to Bill Ackman, that hedge fund may not be as as flush as people think. Very interesting. Precarious times for some of these institutions, perhaps.
It is. Now, even if you discount Harvard's assets of $50-something billion by 30 or 40%, they're still tens of billions of dollars ahead of everybody else. So I don't have all that much sympathy for them. In fact, yesterday, maybe you saw that Secretary McMahon of the Education Department said in a letter, right, you're not going to get any more federal grants from us.
Yeah, well, if again, right, if you're losing it on both ends, incoming and return on investment, then it can get dicey in a hurry. That's number one. Number two, to your point, Harvard may be the last to fall, but if you see others fall or really get into an area where they're in serious jeopardy, I mean, that's going to send reverberations throughout the entire system, don't you think?
Yeah, so your point earlier about people going right into the workforce and doing well is important. I think probably colleges and the higher ed system are extremely over-enrolled at the bachelor's degree level. And my evidence for this is not just people's income and earnings, but also look at the graduation rates. We have colleges that are below a 10% four-year graduation rate, and they still get federal dollars, they still get state dollars, the students still get student loans. Where's the accreditor saying, what about 9/10 of your students who are not even finishing on time, maybe not at all? They end up with debt but no degree. A lot of those students should have just gone to the 2-year college, got an apprenticeship, and have a much better and happier life.
Adam Kissel, visiting fellow for higher education reform in the Center for Education Policy at the Heritage Foundation. His new book, Slacking, A Guide to Ivy League Miseducation. Adam Kissel, thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, proposed Illinois jobs tax. You know, these pesky jobs, we got to get rid of them. Tax them. That's an idea floating around in Springfield. We'll start there with Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related at 7:37.
But first, we got to step by that newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 49 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Real ID deadline is tomorrow. The Trump administration says all states will need to comply by the May 7th deadline. Real ID is an enhanced security driver's license that will be needed to board any domestic airline flight in lieu of a passport. Some states are complaining of long lines at the DMV. Authorities are investigating a police-involved shooting on the far south side. The incident happened early Monday morning at the corner of 106 and LaSalle Streets. Police say an off-duty officer shot and critically wounded a man while responding to a domestic dispute. The man who was shot was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 2 weapons were recovered. The officer involved will be placed on administrative duties for at least 30 days. Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor of Dalton's officially over. Jason House was sworn in as mayor at the Village House yesterday. Henyard's tenure as mayor was marred by controversy that included a number of investigations. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great El Dursky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
It's Reveille. It's May, and people across the state are now opening their property tax bills for this year. And once again, those bills are asking property owners to pay hundreds and in many cases, thousands of dollars more. Every year, owners are shocked they are asked to pay more when we already pay the highest property taxes in the nation. And every election, politicians, mostly Democrat politicians, since they have complete legislative control, lie to voters and say they support property tax reform when they do nothing about it. It's not just the suburbs that are getting punished with high property taxes either. In a recent article, Wirepoint's highlighted Adam Data Solutions information showing Illinois is home to 27 counties in the nation's top 50 counties for the highest property taxes. Sitting at number 1 is Knox County, a rural county in western Illinois. The largest town in Knox County is Galesburg, previously home to a Maytag plant that used to employ 1,600 people, but closed in 2004 when that manufacturing moved to Mexico. The town has not fully recovered since then. Residents in Knox County have an average effective tax rate of 2.19%, more than double the national average. Last year, taxes for some residents went up 33%, adding thousands of dollars to already high tax bills. Most of this money goes to public schools. And in Galesburg, only 24% of the students read at grade level and only 15% perform math at grade level. Other rural counties that ranked high in the nation for property taxes were Livingston, Iroquois, Bureau, Henry, and Montgomery. These small counties have less than 50,000 population, a median income of $65,000, and pay some of the highest property taxes in the nation. By far, though, the south suburbs of Cook County are punished the most, with effective rates well over 4%. It's all outrageous, and nobody in Springfield seems to care. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 23 minutes. On the outbound side, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound, it's going to be about 37 minutes. Possibly due to this accident, left lane blocked. This is going to be between the Byrne interchange, Kennedy, and Ohio Street. Very, very slow there. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 44 minutes. Outbound, about 33 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 37 minutes. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. Get big summer flavor in every bite with the new DQ Summer Blizzard treat menu, featuring new mixing bowl mashup, fan favorite s'mores, and more for a limited time right now at DQ. Happy tastes good at participating locations. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds, occasional sun today, the high at 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow, breezy, high 68. Partly sunny, breezy, much cooler day on Thursday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Now, this is These, I should say, are the words of the Chicago Tribune editorial board. The Chicago Tribune editorial board. Okay. That is not a conservative editorial board. Quote, in a state where one of the only job sectors that's growing is the government, it's a terrible idea to implement a new tax that hits private sector employers and workers hard. That's what the payroll tax being considered in Springfield would do. Not my words.
Wow.
Tribune editorial board. State Senator Ram Valivalam from Chicago is proposing a state payroll tax to cover paid family and medical leave. New tax based on a worker's wages would be withheld automatically from paychecks, just like Social Security and Medicare. Both the employer and the employee would have to contribute toward this payroll tax. You know, we're not doing enough to kill jobs in this state. Nothing like layering on yet another tax on job creators and job creation in a state that continues to lag its Midwest neighbors by hundreds of thousands of jobs in some cases on an annualized basis. But again, no alternative policy vision, no alternative standard bearers that are particularly compelling, no debate. That sends a signal to the political class. More of the same. Stay the course. And they are. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Payroll tax to cover paid family and medical leave. That may be moving in Springfield. What's your sense?
Yeah, it may be moving in Springfield, and I tell you, it's not the only tax, and you know we'll have plenty of other tax hike proposals to talk about. But
good.
This is par for the course, of course, and you know they're finding another way to fund another intervention, and you know forcing personal leave and you know companies to do more costs. And you know, it's not a surprise. It's it's a 1-point-something% increase, but it's not surprising. I tell you what's really painful though is, and it's amazing how the facts never come to the table. But if you look at job growth, and we've talked about it here before, job growth and economic growth under Governor Pritzker, it is one of the worst. Our economy is probably the fourth worst in the country over that time frame. Our job creation might be positive, but only because of government growth, not private sector growth. So it's a pretty sad story, and you know they're going to make things worse, but that's not surprising.
We talked a bit about this. I don't know, it was yesterday or last week. I can't remember. But
yesterday.
The Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Teachers Union, I should say, that they control the Chicago Public Schools. And most of the rest of the schools,
control
as far as
everything.
I can tell. Yeah. But they have a whole tax package they propose, too, because they're sort of a shadow legislative body. They've got all kinds of taxes that they proposed again this year, as they propose pretty much every year. Millionaire surcharge. And, you know, we need a graduated state income tax. BLM Brandon had said that, too. He's down in Springfield kicking that around as well. Anything else other than this payroll tax that people should be particularly on the lookout for in terms of a tax increase that could actually move?
Well, yeah, I think it's hard for them to move, but you've got the Civic Federation, the Civic Committee, and BGA and those guys. They're all still pushing an income tax hike, a personal income tax hike, a corporate income tax hike, some of it to pay down pensions. So, they've put together a pretty good coalition that's out there selling it as, hey, listen, we're going to do it's temporary, by the way. You've heard that before.
Oh, temporary tax. Right.
Yeah.
Nothing is so
just
temporary.
Like the toll roads.
Nothing is so permanent as a temporary tax increase, to paraphrase Friedman.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And, that purportedly to pay down pensions and to build up a rainy day fund. I was on WTTW the other day, and I was on the Black Voices show, and there, again, lots of demands for more, and the CTVA representative, of course, called for either an increase in the income tax hike, in the income taxes from $4.95 today to about 6.5, so a nice 1.5% increase, If not that, then how about a sales tax increase to include services?
Why not both? While we're at it.
Why not both? And each one's about $2.5 billion. So they're looking for money. I tell you, they're going to look for money, and they're going to push it. I think the only thing that might help us is that if you look across the country, everybody has been lowering taxes.
Well,
in the last 3 years, 25 states have cut income taxes. We're the ones that kind of stick out again like a sore thumb. Sorry, Amy.
Well, no, in Utah, Governor Spencer Cox, great guy. Well, he wants to get rid of the state income tax, so he's working to do that. But here in Illinois, what really concerns me and a lot of people, especially rideshare drivers, is this mileage tax. 30 cents for every mile driven. They're doing a pilot of that right now. So, I did some math. This month I would have had to pay $532 just for driving for different jobs to and from.
Well, yeah, that's after we doubled the gas tax in 2019. Governor Pritzker doubled it, and then he put a inflation kicker on it that every year now they don't have to vote on increasing the gas tax. It goes up automatically.
Right.
I tell you, we wrote a piece about this last week, and I haven't seen that much traffic on a piece in a while. People go crazy over the gas prices in Illinois. The gas taxes, in particular, were the second highest in the nation.
Yeah, but people are driving EVs, so they can't. There's no
right.
gas tax, so they want to put this mileage tax on.
Well, it's another good excuse to get another tax on there. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like freedom of movement. I mean, it's. I think it's against the Constitution, but hopefully it won't go through it. It'll just be a pilot
they know
program.
Where you are, Amy. They know where you are.
Something else that prevents movement are confiscatory property taxes. You've been writing about this recently. There's some new data, but Maria Pappas, the Cook County Treasurer, has chimed in on this, looking at the property tax appeal system and who's getting stuck. And surprise, businesses' tax bills dropped nearly 20%, while residential bills increased by more than 16% during the years 2021 to 2023, that reassessment cycle. More than 250,000 households in Cook County saw their tax bills jump 25% or more in the same period. The report concludes, Pappas's report, the county's assessment appeal system financially rewards business owners and rich honkies, I'll mention, while in many cases punishing lower-income Black and Latino homeowners. Another reverse Robin Hood system that the new Marxists are in charge of.
Yeah, we've been writing about this for a while. The big risk for residential in Illinois, especially if you do more of these payroll taxes, stuff like that, is as jobs are killed, as the economy gets worse and worse, we have less and less corporate activity relative to other states and relative to our residential population. And so what's happening is that the taxes that the commercial corporate sector are paying are going down in property taxes, and because the levies, because what the government's spending only goes up, then more and more burden is being shifted onto residential. And then you get into the whole battle of residential between the rich and the poor. It's a really bastardized process, but what we're seeing, and we've seen it over and over and over again, is that the shift is happening from the commercial to the residential. And where it hits the hardest is like places like South Cook, which hardly have any commercial anymore. So it's just massive taxes on the people. And it just kills those cities.
Well, and it's killing the lower middle to middle income household. I mean, just more from Pappas's report. Cook County households making less than $50,000 a year saw their tax bills jump an average of nearly 10%, compared to half that for those making more than $150,000 a year. South Deering, the East Side, and West Englewood saw some of the biggest increases, between 20 and 25% after the appeals process. West Garfield and Washington Park neighborhoods, where residents spend the largest share of their income on housing citywide, saw similar increases. So, I mean, you're attempting to take blood from a stone in poor to working poor to lower to middle income neighborhoods and communities around Cook County, and businesses, and the wealthier certainly are essentially not bearing the same proportional brunt. And these are the same people that are always talking about equity and fairness and representing, striving minority families and so on and so forth. And they just get fleeced. It's the most frustrating thing. It's like talking about school choice, because the very people the people in power purport to represent are the people that get hammered the hardest from every direction. And we can't seem to penetrate people's consciousness with this information.
No, and I tell you, the big deal is that we never get around to the real issue. Right now, we're talking about the distribution of taxes from one group to another. We never get to the point of why is spending so high? Why don't we ever cut it? You never hear cities and villages and counties and whatever. They don't ever cut, right? They only grow. And so this ever-growing pie it's like a hot potato, right? We're just all passing it around, and of course the little guy's the one that ends up holding the bomb. And so that's the real problem. But until we ever get around to looking at the actual expenses, and you've been doing some of that, Dan, on your Doge stuff, it's until we get there, then it's just getting worse. And again, we showed whatever it was 2 weeks ago, the top 5 metro areas, 5 out of the top 10 metro areas in the country for highest property taxes are Illinois. So it's not a distribution problem only; it's the damn size of the spend.
And we love it. More. Yeah. Take my house, please, Henny Youngman.
We have Stockholm syndrome.
I wanted to get to something else though too, because you try to celebrate even modest victories, and this was a modest victory involving your colleague Mark Glennon. Mark Glennon was a plaintiff in a lawsuit filed by the Liberty Justice Center, which is a public interest firm in Chicago that I co-founded. Glennon, the plaintiff, versus the city, after Bally's announced a public offering that was discriminatory on the basis of race and gender. And because of this litigation by Liberty Justice Center and Mark Glennon stepping up to be a plaintiff and a prospective investor that was being discriminated against by this Bally's offering at the impetus of the city of Chicago, Bally's revised its offering, and in its new securities filing dated the April 22nd, removed the requirement that purchasers be either a woman or minority. So, strike a blow for colorblindness, which is a victory and an important one.
It is. Everywhere we see racism of all kinds in Chicago, and this is a case where Bally's is selling the stock, and it was interesting for both me and Mark, and I'm so happy that Mark joined in on that suit. But this Bally's required, if you wanted to buy these stock in this particular park, you had to be a minority, and so I went in there to go see if I could buy it. My mom's from Ecuador, so I qualified as a minority, so I bought a share. By the way, this is the craziest share thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm a finance guy. I couldn't believe what they were purporting to be a really good investment for minorities or low income people.
Whether you should buy it is a whole other question.
Is great.
Yeah, right. It was crazy. I had to spend a lot of time to figure out. The odds of making money on that thing were like so low. Anyway, that was one. So I was able to buy one, and of course Mark went in there, but being not qualified as minority, just being a white male, he couldn't buy it. Oh. And so it made all the sense for us to say, hey, for Mark to sue and make a case that this is reverse discrimination, and there it was. And kudos to LJC. They've done a great job. They did a great job putting that case together, and Mark for standing up.
So where are you taking us when you win big?
Yeah, right. Well, I think Mark said he's going to donate that money to I forget where, but if he were ever to win something, but I think that's over. They've restructured, and I never got my share, so I'm not going to win big either. So.
Okay. We talked about this a bit yesterday with Governor Abbott in Texas signing the nation's largest school choice program into law over the weekend, and you penned a piece over at Wire Points about just providing additional context here on how much of an outlier Illinois is in the Midwest and now nationally, with more than 30 states that enjoy school choice programs.
Yeah, it's amazing that Illinois continues to look more and more like an island in the middle of the country. We're looking more like a West Coast. When we talk about gas prices, we look like the West Coast. In school choice, we're standing all alone as we get surrounded, just literally surrounded by school choice states and universal school choice states, which is more important because anybody can get access to a voucher. So I'm hoping that over time, the pressure of all those states getting school choice means that at some point, even if we can't flip the legislature into a less democratic one, that we can put pressure on a lot of these legislators who it should be toxic for them to try to defend these school districts where just 5 and 10% of kids can read. So I think it's great news that all these states are doing it, and it's just a matter of time if we can, as bad as we are, we can cobble together something to put pressure on lawmakers.
Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Hey, Dan, can I make one more comment?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, listen, I listening about Bill Ackman, what I can't wait, and I love that Bill Ackman attacks Harvard. I love that these wealthy guys are doing that. I can't wait till guys like Bill Ackman decide, hey, wait a minute, attacking the universities is a little too late. The real fostering of all this crazy behavior and DEI is coming, in K through 12, and I would love for them to move their efforts and their attacks to the K through 12 system, because that's where it starts. By the time they're in college, it's a little too late.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Thanks, Ted.
All right, thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, have a good week. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based in Chicagoland, and they're working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has unfortunately become a destination for so-called abortion tourism, as our neighboring states have imposed reasonable restrictions on abortion. More women are coming to Illinois. In fact, the number of abortions in Illinois has doubled in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help this effort by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount will make it possible for Caring Network to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. Reaching her first means providing services like telehealth counseling with a nurse, or scheduling an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby on an ultrasound. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
All right. For 8 years, QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. They're so successful. That's why they have been around for 8 years. And they have 50,000 satisfied patients, and you can be next. So listen up. If you have chronic knee and back pain, pain in your hip, shoulder, elbow, it's not going to just go away. You have to do something about it. I know so many people have had knee replacements, and they haven't even worked, and they had to take vacation time off of work to have the surgery. Some did not got addicted to the pain pills that they took after the surgery. So with QC Kinetics, there's no surgery, there's no downtime, there's no medications to cover up the pain that's not going to go away. So here's what you do. Call our good friends at QC Kinetics. They'll walk you through the program, show you how it works. They'll let you know whether or not you're a good candidate to receive regenerative cell therapy. The number to call is 312 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Saturday appointments are available. And again, this is a free consultation. They have offices all around the Chicagoland area, including Chicago. Nothing to lose. 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Can a revolution come as a pill? Over the past century, we saw first the birth control pill, and much more recently, we have the abortion pill. Both pills have served to reshape our entire moral landscape. The abortion pill was promised and packaged as safe, except it's not. Just this past week, the Ethics and Public Policy Center released a major study looking at upwards of 800,000 prescribed mifepristone abortions. They found that no less than 11% of women had experienced, and I quote, sepsis, infection, hemorrhaging, or another serious adverse event within 45 days following a mifepristone abortion, end quote. This is how the culture of death works. It kills, and it harms, and it lies. It directs its attack directly on the unborn. It deliberately ignores the harm intentionally inflicted on the unborn child, and then misrepresents the risk of harm to the mother as well. It runs on a high-speed rail of lies, and then it piles further lies on top. I'm Albert Mohler.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to RealClearMarkets.com's John Tammany about the primary scourge that the Trump administration has to deal with. Big government Republicans on the Hill. That's at 8:08.
Today we're going to have some sunshine, warmer weather, a high in the mid-70s. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Will President Trump refer to Canada's leader as a governor? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Prime Minister Mark Carney will go to the White House for trade and tariff talks in a few hours. The president has often suggested that Canada should be our 51st state, something Carney says will never happen.
Sometimes these meetings at the White House are scheduled after a deal has been agreed to, but according to Prime Minister Carney, the two sides are still a ways apart.
We're meeting as heads of our government to discuss that partnership. Now, I'm not pretending those discussions will be easy or they won't proceed in a straight line. There'll be zigs and zags, ups and downs.
The number one point of contention today, U.S. automakers moving operations north.
That's Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will face questions at a House hearing next hour about trade talks and the Trump tariffs and concern about their effect on the economy. The Homeland Security Secretary will also testify at another House hearing, no doubt asked about the new incentives to get illegal immigrants to self-deport, paying for their flights out and giving them $1,000 after they've left.
Kristi Noem says the plan will save taxpayer dollars, noting it cost more than $17,000 for a migrant to be arrested, detained, and deported.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House.
President Trump says immigrants who do not self-deport will not have a path back to the U.S.
And speaking of flights, nearly 200 to and from Newark, New Jersey are delayed or canceled again this morning as that airport continues to deal with a shortage of air traffic controllers made worse when someone on leave last week because of the stress following a technical problem that briefly turned off radar and cut communications with planes. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries blames the president.
As part of breaking the federal government, the Trump administration is breaking the FAA.
But Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tells Fox.
We have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30, 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 53 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's not sure what Canada's prime minister wants to talk about when the two meet today.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is scheduled to speak with Trump at the White House.
I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does.
The high-stakes meeting comes in the midst of a trade war between the two countries. Trump has also increased tensions, suggesting that Canada should become part of the U.S. This will be Carney's first trip to Washington since he was elected last week. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Trump administration is offering $1,000 to illegals if they self-deport using a government app.
President Trump addressed the program Monday while speaking at the White House.
What we thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from.
The Department of Homeland Security said the payments will be made after their return's been confirmed through the CBP Home app. The app's webpage estimates that once approved, undocumented migrants would typically depart the U.S. within 3 weeks. Those who submit their intent to voluntarily self-deport will also be deprioritized for detention and removal ahead of their departure. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor of Dalton is officially over. Jason House was sworn in as mayor at the Village Hall yesterday.
Our resiliency and unity have brought us to a new and brighter day in the village of Dalton.
Henyard's tenure as mayor was marred by controversy that included a number of investigations. House easily defeated her in February's Democratic primary. News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560 The Answer. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Mattel says it plans to raise prices in the U.S. where necessary and will take steps to rely less on China for production. Mattel says it's not predicting how its business will do this year as it tries to get a handle on the impact of the global trade dispute. The Justice Department revealed in a government filing it wants Google to sell 2 of its ad businesses. A federal judge ruled last month that Google created a monopoly in advertising. Google plans to appeal that decision and has said it wouldn't be technically feasible to break up the unit. Reuters says China's discount retailers Shein and Temu are stepping up advertising in Europe away from the U.S., where their products are impacted by tariffs. The 2 companies ship merchandise directly from China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Yeah, when you say your Hassleus mattress showrooms are employee-free, you don't really mean it, right?
Of course we mean it. No employees. Give the mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Why no employees?
To save you money.
How much money?
Well, others sell a Beauty Sleep by Beauty Rest Elm Cove B Queen for $16.59, but the everyday Hassleus price is just $8.42.
Whoa, Nelly.
We also have way low pricing on our selection of Sealy Posturepedic and more.
That's pretty good.
And through Monday, purchase a select Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress in any size and receive a free adjustable base.
That's exceptionally good.
Plus, free next day delivery, removal and setup of your new mattress, and free financing is available too.
All because your showrooms are employee-free?
Yes, sir.
I like the way you do business.
Get a free adjustable base now through Monday at Hassleus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free Chicagoland showroom near you at hassleus.com.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down, here she comes. Shh. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 21 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound, about 47 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 57 minutes. Outbound, 40 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 47 minutes. Outbound, about 35 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some occasional sun for today. Warmer afternoon. High today 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight. Low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Breezy. High 68. Partly sunny. Breezy. Much cooler on Thursday. High 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Interesting write-up on how complicated manufacturing is and on a global scale. This is very sort of Leonard Reed iPencil-ish. J.D. Vance, was at that Nucor steel plant in South Carolina last week. That's where he sat down with Brett Baer.
Yeah.
Nucor loves the tariffs that Trump imposed on its competition from imported steel, but doesn't like some of the other tariffs. The company warned about ways that Trump's global tariffs will increase its cost for both equipment and raw materials, specifically pig iron and direct reduced iron, or DRI. Pig iron imports last year were 4.7 million metric tons, much of it from Brazil. DRI imports were 1.5 million tons, almost all from Trinidad, where it's produced by a Nucor subsidiary. Whether it was President Biden or currently President Trump, are we working to make sure that the administration has the right information, the right understanding of the impacts related to this industry? Absolutely. We're doing that every day. Right. I mean, this is what this begets. Tariff protections for me, but not for thee. Government as a sword for me, or a shield for me, but not for thee. Government in the business of picking winners and losers, to borrow a cliche. And even with an industry, with a specific business, I should say, that is both a winner and a loser. Is that the sort of central planning that gets America to a better place? Not if this stays the way that it is. If, as I've said from the outset, somehow in some way, starting perhaps today with Mark Carney, Canada's new PM, you get to a general agreement to categorically lower trade barriers on both sides of a bilateral agreement or all sides of a multilateral agreement. That's one thing. But picking and choosing leaves one in a very confused state. You're trying to figure out if Nucor may be trying to figure out right now if they're a net beneficiary or a net casualty. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by John Tammany, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, also the author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What is your sort of level of concern about the uncertainty of this environment when it comes to trade policy?
My goal always is zero for everyone. I don't want to be just over the top, oh my gosh, he's ruining the country. And the reason I won't say that is because we're a market. We're a voting market, and we correct mistakes. If Trump continues on this path of imposing tariffs and the Republicans don't block him because they're afraid of what if he'll primary them, the reality is those same Republicans, many of them will lose seats, and Democrats will take back control, and we'll have gridlock, and Trump's ability to do more damage will be limited. So I think this solves itself either way. But, anytime you get in the way of we have evolved as a species working together. That's why there's so much plenty in the world, because we divide up work. When you put up barriers to that, when you tax it, you naturally slow down economic growth and prosperity.
What about tariffs on movies? So that next time Paddington wants to go to Peru, he thinks twice about going to Peru.
Yeah, I mean, it's just anything like that. I'm one of these people. People say, "Oh, how a feat," but I love foreign movies. I want them made at different places. I've always felt that the fact that they make a lot of movies in Georgia was something that supported our point of view. Ben Affleck, someone who historically had said, well, I want higher taxes, I make a lot of money. But he said, I quote him in my books, he specifically said, if you get tax breaks, you have that much more time to spend making a movie. You can put that much more effort into it, that much more money into it. And so the fact that movies are made everywhere supports the idea that taxes are a price. We should use this to bring taxes down, not to bring them up.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, quote unquote, American movies have, overseas shoots and saying what constitutes it. And then you get into this, never ending minutia that feeds the central planner and nobody else in particular. I mean, and that the Hollywood
how are you going to
thing.
Enforce it too?
Well, I mean, first, right? So we're providing tax benefits to a particular industry on the one hand, which is also industrial policy, whether it's in Chicago or Georgia or anywhere else that provides tax incentives for movie production. And then on the other hand, we're insulating some of them from competition, and also we're punishing some of them for competing. I mean, this is the meatball sundae you get with this sort of policy making.
Yeah, and it's endless. What did Engel say? He said tariffs are the endless screw. Once you bail out someone with a tariff, you're hurting someone else, which means you have to bail out them. It's just something that's never ending. And so the goal always should be, why do we work? We work in order to get things. And so you want the whole world competing to serve your needs. But also when the world's competing to serve your needs, guess what? That enhances the odds of you getting to do the work most associated with your unique skills and intelligence. No one is harmed by trade. And this is where I get frustrated with so many on our side. So many who support no tariffs will say, yeah, but China did take a lot of jobs. No, they didn't. The biggest job destroyers in the United States are U.S. producers, and that's called progress.
Well, right. I mean, what you've actually seen, if you look at some of the longitudinal charts, is there are definitely fewer people working in the manufacturing sector, at least according to the Fed data that I was looking at the other day. Maybe it's dropped by 6 or 800,000 over the last 20, 25 years, which is not inconsequential. But then the flip side is you look at output from that same sector, and it's gone up at a 45-degree angle. So a lot of this, and the sort of the underappreciated story that I think you're pointing to, is you have fewer people in manufacturing and a more efficient and productive manufacturing sector through innovation.
Well, yes, and I'm pointing to that. No doubt you can. This is what happens. You can do more with less, but let's remember, Americans hated manufacturing jobs. People who want manufacturing jobs are the ones that are most innocent of them. What destroys cities? You want to destroy a city? Bring lots of factories to them because that repels talent. The biggest manufacturing cities in the United States 100 years is New York City. Flint and Milwaukee were 2 and 3. Los Angeles is number 4. What are the 2 most prosperous cities of those 4 today? They are New York and Los Angeles. And why are they? Because they left the past behind. And when you leave the past behind, when you allow people to evolve, talented people come to where you are. There are lots of Flint and Milwaukee people living in New York and Los Angeles. There are very few to probably none New York and in Los Angeles people living in Flint and Milwaukee. People don't want those jobs. They've never wanted those jobs.
Well, and even in the more advanced and high-tech manufacturing businesses where you have good-paying jobs, and there are people that are interested in them, or could be if you reoriented their sort of cultural understanding a bit, and their understanding of the value of a college education and so forth, sort of the Mike Rowe conversation. You have those manufacturers that can't find people to fill some of the jobs that they have.
Well, of course you can't. There's a great book called Playing Through the Whistle by S.L. Price. It's about football in Aliquippa, PA. And the parents who worked in the mills and factories, they were adamant. They said, do something for yourself. We are working these jobs so that you don't have to, as in they told their kids to get out and get out quickly. These were good jobs 100 years ago. They're not good jobs now, and that's why the fact
that's why Mike Ditka left and became a tight end for the Bears. Right.
It's exactly why. I mean, that was why did he go to Pitt over Penn State? Pitt had a better dental program. He was getting out. His parents lived in that world. He wanted out.
So now I don't want to be all Debbie Downer on this, because a lot of Trump supporters want to give him some bandwidth and see if this asymmetrical approach works. And Larry Kudlow said, last week in reaction to the minor hysteria about the first quarter GDP number, look, what you have here is, there was some, front running the imposition of tariffs, but there was also front running the expectation that we're going to see an extension of the tax relief from Trump's first term, that we're going to see some spending restraint. And so he's pretty sanguine about economic growth and economic vitality in this country in the coming quarters. Are you similarly optimistic?
Oh, I'm always optimistic. Americans are pretty smart, and they always work around the mistakes of politicians. The GDP number was nonsensical, and that's not a defense or support of Trump. GDP is a ridiculous number. When you have a huge inflow of imports, which by definition is matched by exports, but people don't realize that, of course, that's going to bring GDP down. And so people, as you alluded, they rushed a lot of things in to beat the tariffs, and so that brought the number down. But imports are always a bullish sign. There was a brief decline in government spending. I assume it's related to Doge. And so that, of course, brings GDP down. But what does that tell you? That's just a reminder that GDP is a monument to double counting.
Yeah.
Government spending can't drive economic growth because government spending is an effective economic growth. Governments have money to spend because Americans are productive. And so the idea that more government waste would increase the number just shows you how foolish the number is. So to focus on GDP, utter waste of time. But over time, if these tariffs have teeth, if Trump actually goes through with this, of course it's going to slow down economic growth. The reality is the Chinese sell to us because they want to buy from us. China is a massive market for U.S. production. If we put up barriers to each other, we'll be buying less from each other, and so we'll be selling less to each other.
You know, there's sort of a tell from Scott Bessent last week, Treasury Secretary, when he was talking. I think it was maybe it was Bartiromo, I can't remember, or maybe it was just the press briefing he had. But regardless, he said, "Look, you know, we're not trying to be the world's largest producer of dog collars." You know, basically insinuating we're looking for particular, you know, to protect or onshore particular industries or particular product lines within industries, and that's all well and good. But it concedes the point that comparative advantage is a real thing. It concedes the point that free trade orientation, at least working in that direction. I'm not naive about how close we'll get, but it concedes the underlying premise of the free trader when you say we're not looking for this, we're looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wish they weren't looking for that either. But let's agree that politics is the art of the possible. Trade has been politicized for as long as we've existed, and it'll be politicized long after we've existed. I think I speak for all of us right now that if we were negotiating, we would say we are going to zero. If you don't follow us, you're going to fall even further behind us economically. Because that's the argument that the Trump supporters are making. They're saying, actually, he wants to be at 0, too. This is his way of getting there. I just wouldn't do it this way. It's mistaken. Just because the rest of the world has higher tariffs on American production, that means they're injuring their people. That means they're slowing their people's economic evolution. I don't see why Americans have to suffer because other countries harm their people.
The other area of concern is on the spending side. You know, Trump's sort of budget framework as direction to Republicans on the Hill had about $163 billion in spending reductions and discretionary spending, which, of course, discretionary spending now only represents about a quarter of the federal spend on an annualized basis, which is a whole nother hornet's nest. But you know, so and you have recalcitrant Republicans. Some Republicans in the House want to keep the green subsidies because it benefits their districts. And Josh Hawley is now reversing course on any sort of Medicaid reform because it's potentially politically problematic. He believes. I mean, it has nothing to do with the economics or the sense of the program. It's just straight, you know, political calculations or the amount of political capital you want to have to spend to address what you know will be the agitprop from the other side. So, I mean, that's a real practical problem, too, is you have a lot of lazy and big spending-oriented Republicans on the Hill with pretty small majorities in both chambers.
Well, yeah, it speaks to what Ronald Reagan ran into. Ronald Reagan wanted to shrink government, but what he found is that every government program has a constituency, and it's got Republican constituents, and so it's very hard to do. At risk of talking my book, I'll talk my next one. It's titled The Deficit Delusion, and one of the chapters makes clear the worst thing we could do in terms of limiting government would be to cut spending or to pursue entitlement reform, and you just explained why. Any money that's saved, they don't burn it up. They don't give it back. It just frees it up for other dumb ideas, the dumb ideas that gradually develop constituencies. So you even now have Republicans who a couple of years ago said, oh, no green spending. Even now they want to keep it because some of it takes place in their district. And so at some point, hopefully people will get the reality that if you want to shrink government, you've got to shrink revenue. You don't shrink it with spending cuts because that just gives them money to throw at other bad ideas that grow and grow and grow.
John Tammany, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution, and your forthcoming book is entitled what again?
The Deficit Delusion, Why Everything Left, Right, and Supply Side Tell You About the National Debt is Wrong.
John Tammany, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you're trying to get through your daily activities and you're noticing you can't because you're focusing more on your pain than being able to enjoy the moment, those are the patients that we're looking to treat because we can make a difference.
That's Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics.
What we're doing at QC Kinetics is offering treatments that help with joint preservation. We use cutting-edge technology in our in-house lab to harness your body's natural healing powers and target the areas where you need them the most.
These are regenerative, non-surgical treatments, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader, delivering lasting relief to tens of thousands of patients.
What we do know is that the sooner we start treatment, the sooner you'll see relief.
So don't wait another minute. See if you're a good candidate for these non-surgical treatments for joint pain. The consultation is completely free.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Air Right Heating and Cooling, Goldilocks, Doors, Locks, and Security, and by Fox Valley Coins.
Spring, a time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, I don't know if you ever read the Babylon Bee, but did you see the headline? Bill Belichick's girlfriend leaves him for Lou Holtz.
Yeah, that's a couple days old. I saw that. Yeah.
Oh,
apparently her previous boyfriend was like 65 years old or something.
Oh, so she knows what she's
I think she's got a type. Is what
yeah,
I'm saying.
you think? And then another text message into the show. Dan and Amy, I'm an illegal immigrant from Puerto Vallarta. Can I please have $1,000 and a free plane ticket?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm from Cancun.
Yeah. Going to be a lot of people that hail from resort towns in Mexico. I have no doubt. All
right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
8:38, we'll talk to Mark Hemingway about the scandalous news outlet that is 60 Minutes, which we talked a little bit about yesterday after that Scott Pelley hatchet job on Trump going after those big law firms like Mark Elias's. We'll discuss basically D.C. press corps corruption with Mark Hemingway at 8:38.
But first, we have to stop by that newsroom once again. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 53 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Family and friends will gather today to remember former Illinois Governor George Ryan. Ryan died last Friday at the age of 91. His visitation takes place today at the Scherfer Funeral Home in Kankakee. A memorial service will be held Thursday at Ashbury United Methodist Church in Kankakee. The Republican served as governor from 1999 to 2003. Chicago police are investigating 2 deaths at an assisted care facility on the south side. Authorities say officers confronted a man armed with a knife earlier at the Grand Regency of Jackson Park Supportive Living. Officers used a taser before shooting the suspect after he advanced towards them while holding a knife. He died at the scene. A few hours later, another man was found unresponsive inside of a unit inside the assisted living facility. He had cuts on his arm and neck and was pronounced dead at the scene. A Bellwood man is charged in a shooting on Chicago's west side over the weekend. James Hill faces charges of aggravated battery and attempted murder. Police say Hill shot a man Sunday morning in the 3800 block of West 14th Street after the two got into an argument. He's due in court today. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place when you need to move your shipment or freight. Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just 1 day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today or call 855-510-2628.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services in Rolling Meadows. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process, payment terms, and dedication towards excellence. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Monarch Technical offers unique payment terms. You now have 6 months to pay the finder's fee, and if for any reason the candidate leaves your employment, the fee ends. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid in full. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent and attractive payment terms, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221 or visit them online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com. Continuing the privilege of enriching manufacturing for 38 years.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes. On the outbound side, 22 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 22 minutes. Outbound, about 42 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 53 minutes. Outbound, 44 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 49 minutes. Outbound, about 37 minutes. This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. If you're ready for a new job, let Express Employment Professionals help you. Express is already hiring for summer jobs in a variety of industries. Job seekers never pay a fee at Express. Go to ExpressPros.com to find your location. That's ExpressPros.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now checking your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds, occasional sun today, the high at 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 55. Partly sunny for tomorrow, breezy, high 68. Partly sunny, breezy, much cooler day on Thursday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Mark Hemingway has a good piece over at RealClearInvestigations.com on 60 Minutes and the departure of Bill Owens from 60 Minutes, which we mentioned briefly in our conversation yesterday about the hit piece that Scott Pelley did over the weekend on Trump as it relates to his executive orders in the direction of law firms that were party to the lawfare against the president over the last 4, 6, 8 years. And it was really rich to see Mark Elias and his firm focus on that firm as one of those that are besieged by Trump, and Mark Elias as basically James Madison here, standing for the rule of law and constitutional principles. Before you hear from this bottom feeder named Mark Elias, who some people may remember, even from our discussion yesterday, he was the Hillary Clinton attorney in 2016 who hired Fusion GPS, who retained Christopher Steele to put together the infamous Steele dossier that was used as the fodder to try to derail the Trump candidacy and then the Trump presidency for the better part of 2.5 years, even knowing that there was no basis to use that as a basis the way that they did. But now Mark Elias, as I said, is the father of our Constitution.
Donald Trump hates me because I fight hard and I fight for free and fair elections. I insist on fighting for democracy in court, fighting for voting rights in court, and insist on telling the truth about what the outcome of the 2020 election was.
Are there risks in doing the work that you're doing?
I'd be an idiot not to be worried. The question, though, is what do you do? Right? Do you just cower in the corner? Do you just try to disappear? Do you just leave democracy to fend for itself? Or do you stand tall and do the best you can every day to represent your clients and try to preserve the rule of law?
Mark Elias first crossed Trump in 2016. He was the top lawyer for the Clinton campaign. Then in 2020, when Trump and allies challenged the election results, Elias fought in court and won. Trump calls him a thug.
Donald Trump is the walking embodiment of everything that is wrong with the American political system. And so when Donald Trump says that I am unethical or that I am undermining his vision of America, I say, boy, I must be doing something right.
Scott Pelley nicely glossed over Mark Elias' activity in 2016 in referencing him there, didn't he? That was very generous of him. Mark Hemingway, senior writer, RealClearInvestigations.com and book editor at TheFederalist.com, his latest piece, The Downfall of 60 Minutes and the Biggest Media Scandal You've Never Heard Of, which you will soon hear of. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, glad to be back on.
Does Scott Pelley have it about right that Mark Elias is one of the great guardians of our democracy?
Mark Elias is an unbelievable scumbag. I mean, and the thing is the idea that this started with him crossing Trump is complete nonsense. Mark Elias has been like the Democratic Party's enforcer on election issues for decades, for going back, at least since 2008 that I remember, where he was involved in the infamous Senate race involving Al Franken and Norm Coleman that came down to a couple hundred votes. And Elias just litigated the hell out of that, and Al Franken pulled it out. But we now have substantial evidence, for instance, that a significant number of felons illegally voted and a whole bunch of other things. Franken didn't rightly win that race. And there's been a million other races like that where Elias has gone in and, it's one thing to just, say, hey, I'm a lawyer, I'm doing the best I can for my client. But, he goes out there and he goes into these dodgy election situations and he screws things up and he gets unjust results, because, hey, he's a good lawyer. But, to then turn around and say that I'm the guardian of democracy, it's absolutely insane. And then, of course, what he did in 2016 is just unconscionable. I mean, he knew what he was doing was wrong. Everybody knew what he was doing was wrong. And, he should be held accountable for that.
And so back us out a little bit, because you get into a lot of detail about 60 Minutes and this current imbroglio within the ranks of 60 Minutes with Bill Owens leaving and the typical Scott Pelley and others saying, oh, journalistic independence, and we're going to do this on behalf of our fallen comrade Bill Owens, and we don't agree with corporate that's trying to cut a deal with Trump and all this business. So unpack that for us, if you would.
Yeah. Well, so obviously when Bill Owens resigned, I guess it was just over a week ago, there was so much fanfare in the press, defending Bill Owens as this paragon of integrity because, Owens had come out and said that, the corporate bosses at Paramount that own CBS won't let 60 Minutes do its job anymore. They're trying to influence our news operations. And 60 Minutes actually went so far as to basically say that on air that, he was being forced out for that reason. Well, first, this is, ridiculous. First of all, there have been two major scandals at CBS News just in the past, 8 months or something. First involving Kamala Harris's interview being all chopped up, in a way that made her sound more coherent when everybody knew that they had dishonestly cut it because they put one of her answers online. And the other was this recent scandal where Leslie Stahl, who's allegedly one of the most, prestigious television news journalists, asked a freed Hamas hostage if that Hamas had starved them unintentionally because Israel was depriving Hamas of food, which is insane. I mean, Hamas is an awful terrorist group, horrible. And Hamas is stealing all the food that comes into Gaza. So that alone was crazy in and of itself. But my story goes into a rather complicated story involving a big scandal from Bill Owens some years earlier to try and help the campaign of Hillary Clinton in 2016.
That's what I was going to say. When do you think the turning point was, when 60 Minutes began to decline in credibility?
That's a really good question. I mean, obviously, the Rathergate scandal in 2004, if, people remember that, it's crazy. I now work with people that were, in diapers or don't remember that. But it was a huge deal at the time where, it was September of 2004 with the election going full steam. There was this big controversy over John Kerry trying to claim that he was this, heroic Vietnam vet for spending, I think less than 4 months in country and lying about, the way he'd gotten a number of his medals. And so 60 Minutes concocted this story, suggesting that, George W. Bush's Texas Air National Guard Service, which already, I think everyone sort of understood that was him trying to dodge the draft, was, somehow marked with, I think it was discipline errors and all this other stuff. And so 60 Minutes concocted these documents and put them on the air saying that, George W. Bush should have been disciplined and he got all these privileges as a rich kid, when it turned out that the documents were completely fabricated and it ended the career of 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes Dan Rather, who was maybe the biggest television news broadcaster at the time. But what was interesting is 60 Minutes at the time did a huge investigation, a big public mea culpa, there was they took it very seriously. And then ever since then, there's been a series of scandals like the one I wrote about where CBS hasn't taken anything seriously at all.
Yeah, that is actually interesting. Dan Rather being felled after that scandal and how that culture has changed within the D.C. press corps, particularly in the last 8 years, where if you do something that is patently unethical, not just make a mistake and it refuse to admit it, but patently unethical, you just walk past it like it didn't happen. When it becomes too difficult to defend, then you just move on to the next thing. That seems to be the damage control approach now, as opposed to trying to present any sort of accountability that suggests that you value your integrity, because it's all just about being a political operative for your side now. And of course, in D.C., that's the Democrats all the time, every time. But I did want to get to the Benghazi piece that you write about, because it's important. And this former CIA spy named Tyler Drumheller, and just how that Benghazi story that started to get too close to Hillary Clinton when she was looking at running for president, and how sort of, it's a great story of intrigue and manipulation, and it included Bill Owens, the sainted Bill Owens now, and how that works to derail a story that would be politically damaging to somebody that you're otherwise trying to advance.
Yeah. So basically the story is this. I mean, this involves a lot of moving parts, and I would encourage you to go to the Federalist and read that story. I think it was also linked on Real Clear Politics as well. But basically the deal is this: it was a major scandal when it happened, and in the fall of 2013, remember this is a year after the Benghazi scandal, where 4 people died in Benghazi, Libya, at an embassy that was attacked on September 11th by an Al-Qaeda affiliated terror group. CBS ran a story about the Benghazi scandal, and that story was done by CBS 60 Minutes reporter Lara Logan, who's no longer with the network. And it was all about this. It was this searing eyewitness testimony about how the U.S. could have and should have done a lot more, to save the people that died that day, from the perspective of the guy that was there, allegedly. Well, shortly after the story is run on air, a story that makes Hillary Clinton look very bad, it comes out that the guy who was at the heart of their report apparently isn't very trustworthy, and he told a bunch of people different conflicting things that he had told CBS. And CBS, goes so far as to pull the transcript of the broadcast off of news services because they can't stand behind it. Laura Logan takes a leave of absence network, and it's all a big black eye. And meanwhile, Hillary Clinton's defenders are like, see, people are out there spreading all these lies about it. What we didn't know until a couple years later when I reported this, which is that there was a man named Tyler Drumheller, who was formerly the head of the CIA's head of clandestine operations in Europe, had a rather checkered record. George Tenet, the former CIA director under both Bush and Clinton, he wrote several pages in his book dedicated to tearing apart Drumheller as being this unreliable guy who nobody should listen to. But Drumheller had been hired by 60 Minutes as a consultant who had worked on this Benghazi story. And according to people I talked to at CBS and 60 Minutes, Drumheller was instrumental in changing the entire nature of the report from something that was attacking Hillary Clinton for denying that Al-Qaeda was involved in the report, involved in Benghazi, because she originally said, this had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. This was, people were upset about this blasphemous YouTube video, which really wasn't true at all, and making it about this unreliable guy's testimony. Well, it turned out, we didn't find out till 2015 that, when I reported that this guy Drumheller was also basically on Hillary Clinton's payroll. He was working together with a former Special Forces colonel, this dodgy private military mercenary company, and Sidney Blumenthal, a longtime Clinton aide, to basically get government contracts when she was at the State Department, to rebuild Libya after the bombing campaign in the Obama administration. So he was simultaneously on the payroll of Hillary Clinton, pitching his intelligence services and other things, and at the same time, he was advising 60 Minutes on how to cover Hillary Clinton.
Right, so steering them away from the narrative that Lara Logan was initially interested in pursuing.
Yes, exactly. And the other guy that he was working with, Sidney Blumenthal, is a longtime Clinton aide, is one of the most notorious dirty tricksters on politics. He's like the Democratic Roger Stone. He was the guy actually that came up with birtherism and suggested that Obama's birth certificate was not legitimate. That was when Hillary Clinton was running against him in 2008. That was all Sidney Blumenthal before it spread to the right wing. He's a really dastardly guy. And if you had told me, how would Sidney Blumenthal come up with a plan to discredit a 60 Minutes report that's going to make Hillary Clinton look really bad, I mean, it will look exactly like what happened. There's no question about this. And, one of the interesting details about that report that I did in 2015, laying all this out, and which I didn't think much about at the time, but I noted in there that 60 Minutes producer Bill Owens was Tyler Drumheller's closest person at the network. And so when when they were making big fanfare about him, I remembered, that Bill Owens. And the crazy thing about this is he was at the heart of this insane Laura Logan scandal, which, again, should have been discrediting to the network. It was a huge story at the time. And just a couple years later, they made him, he went from, regular executive producer to being head of the entire program.
And in your piece, too, I mean, like the conflicts and the skullduggery here is pretty obvious. It doesn't take that much dot connecting. But you also say in your piece, I'm sure over the years, if we look back, the 60 Minutes has done some good pieces. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. But when it comes to politics now, or maybe since Rathergate, I don't know where you would draw the lines. I mean, is there anything that we can trust is on the level with these outlets like 60 Minutes, these the sort of legacy media inside the Beltway and up and down the Eastern Seaboard?
I mean, the idea that something like Rathergate would have happened 20 years ago, and we're still consistently seeing scandals that run in one direction from these people, the answer is no. I mean, if there's anything involving like major national politics, it is clear that they are irredeemably partisan, unless, of course, it's, the most obvious issue in the world. But, just the way that they frame, we just saw how they handled Mark Elias, of all people.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, if there's one person on the Democratic side, everybody could step back and agree, okay, well, look, that guy's not on the up and up. It would be Mark Elias. And somehow, they go out of their way to portray him as this, sainted, crusader who's, beating back that, evil, nasty man, Donald Trump that, a majority of the American people voted for. I mean, it's absolute insanity to approach a man like Mark Elias without a great deal of skepticism, and that's exactly what they're doing. So, no, you can't trust them is the answer.
Mark Hemingway, senior writer at RealClearInvestigations.com and book editor at TheFederalist.com, where you can find his recent piece that we were talking about, the downfall of 60 Minutes and the biggest media scandal you've never heard of, which you have now. Mark, thanks for joining us. As always, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith door and security systems company since 1981.
All right, all across the country, states are embracing school choice. We just talked about it with WirePoint's Ted Dabrowski. Private schools, you can get in. There's scholarships available. But lawmakers here in Illinois have restricted this, despite all the benefits of private education. Well, we have a solution. If you want to send your child to a private school, it's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf and work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. Now, the program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child to a private school and thought that it was financially out of reach, just go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. Even President Trump says it's terrific. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America. This communication is for informational purposes only and shall not be intended to or shall not constitute any offer to buy or sell securities, nor shall there be any sale of securities in any jurisdiction in which such offer, solicitation, or sale would be unlawful.
AM 560, The Answer.
'Tis the season. It's commencement season.
Oh, that's right.
And the undergrads at Tougaloo College, which is a historically black college in Jackson, Mississippi, were treated to a commencement address by none other than fake eyelashes Spice, Jasmine Crockett, who had this to say to the graduates.
Instead of publicly calling us the N-word, they use racist epithets and suggest that we're ghetto or unqualified or diversity hires, even though we're all more, oftentimes than not, more educated and qualified than they are. I have news for you. These attacks are not new because Jim Crow never died. He just lied in wait.
Oh, God. I mean, this is insufferable.
Yeah, she's really, really just a terrible person. This is the message that you want to give undergrads coming out of a college, that it's black versus white, it's us versus them, it's still 1963 Selma in America. I mean, it's she's easy to mock because she's so dumb, but it really is. She's really pernicious. I mean, her rhetoric is really poisonous, and I wish people would take notice of this and provide that sort of pushback. We will continue to do so on this show.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning. Thanks to George Hoffman and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. You're going to have plenty of sunshine today, so enjoy it, because the next 2 days we're going to dip back into the 60s for a high. Today, a high of 73 degrees with plenty of sunshine and some high clouds. So get outside and enjoy. Dan, are you going to be golfing today?
I am.
Oh, good. Hit them long and straight and get ready for our golf tournament. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Questions for cabinet members. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 4 secretaries will testify this morning at House hearings, including Kristi Noem, the head of Homeland Security, who could spar with Democrats over the new plan to get more illegal immigrants out.
Paying for the commercial flights of migrants who are in the country illegally if they choose to self-deport. The administration will also pay them a $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the United States.
Fox's Madeline Rivera.
Migrants who want to use this option must register their intent to self-deport on the CBP Home app.
Yeah, that app has been revised and redone. In the Biden presidency, it was used to help migrants come here and apply for asylum. Also testifying this morning, the Agriculture and Veterans Affairs secretaries and the head of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, no doubt facing questions about trade and Trump tariffs. Now, the president will be discussing those next hour when Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, goes to the White House.
After his recent election victory, Carney said he was prepared to have difficult but constructive conversations in Washington. The meeting comes as Democrat governors from 6 U.S. states invited invited Canadian provincial leaders to Boston to discuss the impact of Trump's tariffs while criticizing the pressure the administration has placed on their relationship.
Fox's Brooke Sigmund. Another 200-plus flights canceled or delayed this morning at Newark, New Jersey's airport, still dealing with an air traffic controller shortage that was made even worse by what happened last week.
Controllers lost contact with the planes under their control. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association says the outage lasted even longer, at 90 seconds, adding, quote, due to the event, the controllers took absence under the Federal Employees Compensation Act. This program covers all federal employees that are physically injured or experience a traumatic event on the job.
That's Fox's Nate Foy at the Newark airport. Israel's been attacking Yemen for a second day. Airstrikes have disabled the airport in Sana'a. Israel's also attacked Iran-backed Houthi militants who launched a missile over the weekend hitting near Tel Aviv's airport, disrupting flights. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
It'll be warmer this afternoon with clouds breaking for some sunshine, high going up to 75. Clear to partly cloudy tonight with low 55. Not as warm tomorrow with partial sunshine, breezy in the afternoon with high 68. Breezy tomorrow evening with increasing clouds with low 45. Partly sunny come Thursday, breezy and a bit cooler with